Hello, everybody. What happened there? Here we go. I'm still getting us live. Welcome to book club. Welcome to book club. Why is this like? So you guys can see the autofocus lens thing, and I don't know how to change that right now. So we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna pretend like this is a motif. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Really quick. I'm also trying to make this streaming happen. Apparently it's happening, but it's not, because if it were, I'm alive. Crazy. First of all, please stop doing that. Okay, let's stop that. Also, we're not live on TikTok. So what do you mean we're streaming? Looking for, well, I found her. Okay, I'm just, y'all, I have been working on this. This whole setup, while other things are fixing. Oh, it does say I'm live. Oh, you can hear me. That's so interesting, because I don't see that on my, on mine. Because I was just gonna follow the comments using my phone. And I see that I am live, but I don't see myself live. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to a different account. Give me a second, y'all. Oh, there I am. Okay. Ooh, turn you all the way down. Why are you talking loud? Nobody asked. Nobody asked. There we go. There we go. Okay. So yay. Okay, I can see you guys live there, so I don't have to keep this up. Okay, I got you guys here on Patreon. Yay. Apparently I am live somewhere on YouTube. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, today, everybody, we are going to be using, I'm going to put in the Discord, or not the Discord, in the Patreon steps to get to Discord if you need help doing that, because the discussion today will be on Discord. So I also have, I'm gonna show you guys. Watch this. Boom. Oh wait, do you guys see it? Let's see if it takes a second to like load for you. There you go. I'll be able to actually put you guys do the Discord live. Now the replay of it will be over at the Patreon, and that'll be in the book club collection, and that one's for the replays for members. But we'll be able to actually do the discussion and have all that live and going on. So I'm excited today. Yay. And I also have some announcements and things to say, but I think we're all good to go because I think everything's working. There's this weird box and that's distracting me. Yeah, just close it. Thanks. We don't need that. Boom. Okay. I think I have everything I need. Yay. How is everybody? I know, new format. So I do have that over here on Patreon. I do not see the Discord overlay. So I'm wondering if Patreon, I see Patreon and we go back and forth. We go back and forth, don't we? Because why aren't you showing things properly? Let me see if it's on the YouTube. It is. So there's that. Okay. Well, don't worry, everybody. If I need to, I will take the YouTube replay and put that up on a Patreon. Oh, never mind. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Okay. So, hello everybody. Welcome back to Book Club. So today we are covering King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette, Part 2. Y'all, first of all, small disclaimer, I have not finished yet. I'm on page 126, getting into the cultural background of the lover archetype. But you know, like, man, I'm excited, so I'm going to talk about it. But also, I think I'll probably do a newsletter wrap up of this book where I'll discuss a little bit more after I've completed the conclusion, because I still got like 30 pages to go, and there's a lot of stuff in here. So I don't want to I don't want to assume anything. So I will talk about the lover today up until like cultural background, etc., etc. You guys can feel free to talk about that stuff in the discussion because there's like accessing the lover. Where's the shadow archetype? That's supposed to be in here somewhere too. Yeah, the shadow lover, the addicted and the impotent lover. Like, there's some stuff that I already know. But overall, oh, there we go. I forgot you guys are over here on the camera. But overall, we're going to cover the king, the magician, the warrior, the lover, and in depth. And I'm going to talk to you all about some stuff that we're going to do, I think, for the rest of the year, or at least, I need something to put this on. Okay. Or at least, towards the summer. I don't know how long this is going to take us, because you guys know I like to go deep and take our time, and adults generally have things to do and a life to live, so it's better that you do things step by step, slowly, in pieces and chunks, so that you can actually sit with the information as well. Because the older you are, the more the information has to reveal to you, and the deeper you can go because of the more life experience that you have. So I like to kind of do that. Now, that being said, I might as well just mention it now because I'm excited. Okay. So we're going to finish talking about this today for the most part, but we're going to keep this book open and available to us for the rest of the year, because here are masculine archetypes, and I'm going to go over again, like I talked about last time in part 1. You have to remember that this was made by men who were still exploring the patriarchy within themselves, so it's heavily gendered. Okay. He's always talking about how men, we have to divorce gender from archetype, and we have to divorce gender from masculine and feminine when we talk about that, because it has nothing to do with gender and everything to do with states of being. So I'll get into that and give us a refresher one more time. And then we're going to go over the actual archetypes. But before I do that, because I'm just going to get distracted because I'm so excited about it, I thought about this. So you guys know I've been reading not Harry Potter. Why did I say that? Put a pin in that. Peter Pan. I've been reading Peter Pan. Satire. So, this is actually my copy. I love it because it's just, it's the Mina Lima. She illustrates all of these. She did, maybe that's why, because Mina Lima originally did some of the Harry Potter, books. I can't remember which ones she did, but she did some of their interactive ones and stuff like that, and that gained her a lot of notoriety in the illustrative space. So she started just illustrating classics, and I thought it was great when I saw them. So I always pick them up because I love book art. One fun fact about me is I had a book art class in college, and I was doing miserably. Like, my book art's great. I have one of the fucking things up here as is. You know what I mean? Like, my stuff was good. The students, they were stupid. They didn't get my art. They didn't get it. But I almost got a C. I almost failed that class because the teacher, he was so specific about specifics. He didn't really grade for creativity. He graded for did you do this thing in this particular way and this particular size and this particular, he was weird. Anyways, he died over Thanksgiving break. So I got an A. It was wild. But anyways, that has always put book art in my heart for some reason. And so I got these interactive copies, which are sometimes a pain to read. Because, fucking fiddle me here, fiddle me there. There's all this fucking shit flying around everywhere, right? And I'm reading some fucked up shit in here too. Where am I? I think I'm on chapter 4. And we got some fucked up shit going on here, and every now and again, some fucking Tinkerbell shit will pop out, and I'm like, oh my god, while being traumatized. But anyways, Peter Pan is all about masculine archetypes, or therefore the lack thereof, right? The kids who never want to grow up. Peter Pan takes kids to Neverland. So you have to remember, contextually and historically speaking, the childhood was something that was only granted towards the aristocrats and then the genteel class by the time Barry was really entering the picture. And, childhood is a construct, okay? It's an idea that adults have about children. And then we see this time and time again. I keep looking at my shelf like I'm going to grab all these books. But with Alice in Wonderland, you see these weird... Well, first of all, there's a lot of men who are obsessed with children in childhood. And that's because, one, they're trying to escape patriarchy in themselves. This idea that they have to put on a performance of masculinity because masculinity has been tied to gender and patriarchy. And when you think that way, then you have to perform a role, but it's split, and that doesn't take take into consideration the fullness of a human being. So you end up traumatized. And a lot of these, like specifically, you have to think that they're they British white men who are part of and benefit from the empire, the imperial complex that is Britain, right? They benefit greatly from it, like hugely from it, as far as positioning in the world. And so they both are like sick and tired and don't want anything to do with patriarchy and also benefiting from it. So it's a loop where they're constantly trapped in their own cages. And Peter Pan, I keep saying we're gonna do it for book club, so I keep saying, I gotta bring up and I gotta read what Virginia Woolf had to say about the Peter Pan syndrome and what it was doing to Bohemia and the arts like scene at the time. And it was fucked up because like this is really a commentary more so on people at the time. A lot of people think that it's about the Davies boys, but the Davies boys were barely children at the time. The youngest was 6 months old. Peter himself, Peter Davies, who Peter Pan, where we get kind of the name, was 4. Barry couldn't these aren't the children. This isn't Peter Davis and all of that. This is kind of something different. Now, I can't say for sure. There's a lot of conjecture for sure, but I'm actually very curious going into this, how much of this satire can be peeled back for us to be able to read what was going on culturally and see it for more like what it is. It's a fairy tale book, yes, but it's from a salon. And we know that salons back in the day were the safe spaces for femmes and the gays to talk about the fucked up shit that was going on. And you have to imagine it was far more fucked up then than it is now, okay? Now you guys can watch me streaming, but back in the day you would have to come to my fucking house, and I'm only going to let people I trust into my house, which is how we create the safe space, right? Yes, basically PDF files, right? Yeah, like Lewis, I think Carol Lewis, like 100%. I don't want to say I think, there's no allegedness to it. That man was trying to snap pictures of children naked without their parents, and it was fucking weird, and he felt so comfortable telling that woman, I don't want you to come along, just send the girls by themselves. And she was like, well, I think I'll go. And he was like, oh, you really don't trust me? Wow. And I was like, this is crazy, because I think she sent that. Anyways, I have to go and get the actual like letters and stuff like that, you know what I mean, before I dive into all of that. And so Alice in Wonderland, every time I go to read that book, something just pulls me out of it. And I think it's the sheer amount of fucked up shit that's in there and how deeply ingrained into society that it is. Because I mean, like, well, as I go through Peter Pan, guys, 3 chapters, I have people on this internet freaking out. They think that I'm reading some strange version or that I'm just making stuff up or this or that, because a lot of people don't know that, one, it's satire. They don't know how it's positioned, and that like it was never meant to, like, let's be totally honest, it was never meant to sit on a children's bookshelf today in the way that it does in America. That was Disney's doing. Disney gave a revamp to Peter Pan. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's sold, and it's sold as a children's story and all that kind of stuff. And but there's aspects to that we have to ask about what that was like back in 1911. Not what does that mean today, right? Because today children's authors are these like beloved kind of like nanny figures that sit in children's rooms and tell stories, right? And that's not necessarily what children's authors were in 1911. First of all, they were all men, because nobody, well, they weren't all men, but like the ones that we remember, right, for insidious reasons and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, there's a lot going on with Peter Pan, as you guys can tell, and there's so much to unpack. But most of all are the archetypes that we're going to find and to see, and the lack thereof, the tyrant, the boy, all of the boy psychology going on, and we'll profile it against what was going on in England around 1911 and what people had to say about the play and its impact, and looking at Peter Pan syndrome as it's moved on and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think it'll be a lot of fun, because not only does it help you see the archetypes in real time and also be able to see how it feels, but also get an understanding of culture and how these archetypes infiltrate in culture. You can't unsee it. And then we've got Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. I have the first 4 books here, but we're only going to read the first book. And this one, man, I read the first chapter, I think. Let me see. Yeah, I think I'm on chapter 2. And already when we talk about the magician and different types of masculine archetypes, one, excellent. But Ursula Le Guin, I want to highlight her specifically because she's always been very deep in philosophy with bridging the Western and Eastern philosophies and asking deeper questions of humanity and stuff. And so I'm really excited for this one simply because I think we'll discover some very interesting things about the bridging of what masculine archetypes really are and be able to also see that from a non-gendered space. Let me look really quick. My skin. I'm looking really quick because I have something that I want to highlight here with these books. And I don't know if I wrote that down or not. I'm pretty sure I did. Give me like 2 seconds. I swear to God. Why do I have so much shit on here? I'm only human. Because I'm only human. That's funny. I'm listening to music, if you can't tell. Let's see. Oh, man, I don't think it's on here. Then where did I put it? Maybe it's over here. Oh, this is crazy. Okay, let me see. I am right now kind of a digital mess. So, excuse me. Human. Okay. I wanted to think that wasn't like 14 fucking days ago, was it? No, maybe. No, maybe. Fuck. Okay, hold on. Guys, I hate it when it takes me a second while I'm in the middle. If you guys can't tell while I'm in the middle of what I'm doing. I think I'm just gonna have to save that for the write-up. I think so, because I can't find it immediately, and I don't like taking that much time. Oh my god. I was literally just looking at... Okay, I'm sorry. Let me stop screaming at you guys. Because of this. I'm so sorry. Writing realistic, intimate. No, that's not the fuck that was. No! No! Oh my god, where did I put it? Because it's fine. It's fine. I refuse to be ruled by this. Okay. Well, anyways, I think this one, the word that I was looking for, I think is integration. I think this one's going to show us an awful lot of what masculine archetypes being integrated into the self look like. And I can't find it. And then the other one, the Wizard of Oz. In the wind. Oh, and I forgot a picture of this, but yeah, the Wizard of Oz is the next one. One, because Dorothy has actually all of the attributes. Oh, by the way, yeah, I have this illustrated copy. I love illustrated copies of things, by the way, and I just want everybody to know that if you can get an illustrated copy, especially first of all, illustrations that you love, but also originals. I think there's something so majestic, but also look at all the 3 of these books. What color do you recognize here? These are from 3 totally different publishers, and yet they've all envisioned these green. Isn't that interesting? And I just so happen to have all the green copies. That's not on purpose. But The Wizard of Oz. So the reason why we're going to focus on that one, global economics. Did you know that this was actually about the, during the Great Depression, or actually around that time, they were moving the U.S. from being backed by gold. They were taking the gold standard, tossing out the window, and this is when things were going off the rails. This is when things were getting interesting. So Frank Baum was talking about this because he was actually stationed in Chicago while all these financial conversations were going on. By the way, did you know that the business School of Business in America is right out of Chicago, right? Like that's where it's like, that's the stronghold of business schools. So he was very interested. There's a lot of Art Deco going on at this time period and stuff like that. People are starving. A lot of strange things are happening out in places like Kansas, right? And then we get to kind of look at that and compare it to economics in some way, shape, or form, because this is a conversation. We're going to look at it historically, right, and say, what were they talking about, and how the fuck does that relate to us today? But also, we'll look at the masculine archetypes present, because in Dorothy, one, she has all of them. Remember the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion? They all have something missing. They all have a masculine archetype missing, right? Even the Wizard, the Wizard of Oz, right? They all have archetypes that are missing, and Dorothy's the one that actually embodies all of them. So we're going to look at that because that's a very interesting dynamic going on. And then we've got a movie that I wanted to really, I've mentioned this to you guys already, but I'm going to highlight it at one point in time. The Warrior. No, the Woman King. There we go. Okay, let me grab a picture of it real quick. Dang, that one's wild. Ooh, this one's really nice. We love it. Save the image now. Okay, there we go. I'm going to pull it up really quick, and then so you guys can just see what it looks like. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Are you guys kidding me? It's unfortunately it's a blurry picture, but whatever. We're just gonna go with that because you guys know how it is right now. We take what we can get while we're messing around with all this, you know? Okay, here we go. So I'm just gonna have this and see if you guys can see it really quick. But it's the Woman King. And let me see. I think, yeah, you guys can see it over there on TikTok and stuff. Okay, so yeah, the Woman King. We're gonna look at the movie. I've already watched it. I don't know if we should do like a watch party or something like that. Generally I hate that because I'm just gonna talk during the entire fucking thing. You know what I mean? And I hate obligations. So I don't, and also I'm like, I mean, it could be good, like, set a watch party at a time where we all watch and maybe live stream or something like that and talk about it or something like that. And it's just the time where it's playing, but you all can watch it in your own time. And then like maybe some type of discussion about it or some wrap up at some point in time. But those 4 pieces of media, I think, are what we're going to kind of be messing around with and bouncing around with in book club. I'll probably be reading all of these things throughout the year all at once, but we'll focus on one each month. But yeah. I'm excited to announce Peter Pan is going to be our next book club read, and it's not actually this thick. Funny enough, Peter Pan's actually a much shorter story. Mine's just thick because it's the copy. But yeah. We're going to be doing Peter Pan. I think I'll break it into 2 parts. I don't know. I think I'll get to you guys. I'll tell you guys by like the 5th or something like that, whether you should read the whole book for the month, or like half and then the next half, because I like it when we go slow. I like being able to talk about things. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, but that's going to be what we're looking at. And we're going to, okay, I guess I can take Viola Davis off the screen now because she's staring at me and it's not bad, but it's a lot. It's a lot of yellow. Okay, let me put this down now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I'm excited because these are all really good pieces of fiction, I think, for bouncing off ideas. And one thing I really want to emphasize here is anytime you read something like this, like a text, okay, that's nourishing for your brain, it's giving you information, you're learning something new, please pick up something that you can then use to, like, you can use all of these tools on something, okay? Using these tools in your life is great. I mean, obviously, this is why I'm always telling you guys, like, use these tools in your life, right? But sometimes you don't always have situations to come up to be able to utilize those tools and to see them working. And how long are you going to come into a situation where you turn into a tyrant, right? And then you can go, oh, I see myself. Also, do you want to wait until you're challenged to turn into a tyrant to use the tool, or would you like to be able to use those tools early with fictional characters that aren't going to have their feelings hurt if you judge them, and also they're fictional characters so you can sit with yourself while reading and say, have I ever been like this, and be honest and feel comfortable in that honesty, and then unpack, right? You can let these things bring up your trauma in a by trauma I just mean like you can let the characters and the stories and the situations bring up the emotion for you, and then you can use your tools to navigate it in a safe way. That's kind of the beauty. Like, if we're gonna call and gonna say that there's some beauty in books that have a lot of darkness in them, it's that is that you can reflect in them, but in your own timing, right? So I'm really excited about it. But now let's go ahead and get on into I want to say like the big part of the book. Slow always sounds great. Oh yeah, okay. I feel the same way too. Okay, so yeah, let me go over some of these archetypes, and then we're going to jump into, I'll probably take another 30 minutes to talk about this, and then we'll jump into discussion over on Discord. And anybody who needs help getting to the Discord, that's on the Patreon, it's in the chat. There's a link there. You can also go to important information on the Patreon. Just go to that collection, important information, scroll all the way down to join the community and chat rooms. It's a little FAQ, and it'll teach you how to link your Patreon to the Discord if you need help doing that. Okay. That being said, everybody, are we ready? I think I am. Okay. Well, before I do that, I do need to change. I'm sorry. I gotta change the music. I feel like we're about to get into something, and I need. There we go. Not Carol of the Bells. Where did you come from? How did you get here? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna complain. Ding ding dong ding. Okay. Anyways. We're starting. So, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore. By all means, leave in the chat your feelings and stuff like that. It's easier for me to keep track of that stuff on Patreon. I'm not going to lie. I will be looking at you guys over here on TikTok every now and again. But it's much easier for me to keep track of conversations on Patreon chat. And helpful for replays as well. So, one of the things that I really want to start off with is, did you notice? Okay. No. Let me go back first. Preamble. So last time we talked about the fact that Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette are writing this in the 1990s. Okay, so their relationship with patriarchy is still very much like they're in bed with it. In the beginning of the book, Robert Moore, Gillette, I don't know who, but they're really discussing the fact that like it's really hard to see mature masculine archetypes these days, and you have to understand that they're talking very much from a what I call an American Eurocentric viewpoint. This is someone who takes on the ideology and the viewpoint of the Eurocentric colony that they're colonized by. So in this case, it's American, so it'd be like British Eurocentric thinking. So all of the thinking and ideology, the conditioning comes from the overarching culture, which is British imperialism that led to American colonialism, that led to the current contemporary modern day thinking that people have. And unless you've unpacked or expanded your thinking with new experiences and stuff like that, you're just never likely to think anything of the worldview. And oftentimes with Eurocentric thinking, everything gets reduced down to it's reduced and to the point of decay. So an example of this would be music theory. When I was in high school, oh no, my bad, y'all. Sorry, I have to click this every now and again. I don't know how to get it to stop from turning off. Like, come on, Canon, figure it out. But anyways, when I was in high school, I had the chance to do the Performing Arts, the Magnet program, and I didn't want to because they had to do music theory, and that shit looked boring to me. And I used to actually skip my Spanish class to go sit in music theory every now and again when I wanted to have the nice lunch schedule. Sounds so chaotic as a child. I probably was. And so like I sat in on some of the classes, and I swear to God, it never seemed interesting to me. I just could not figure it out. It just seemed like really weird. Lo and behold, music theory taught in America specifically is the harmonics of 18th century European musicians. That's it. All of music theory taught in America, all of what is music theory, the overarching, it's changing these days, but the overarching, especially when I was in high school, way of teaching the theory of music is only looking at 18th century European musicians and their harmonics. So never mind what's going on anywhere else. And when do you think they studied the hell out of it and figured out everything? By the late 18th century. By the late 18th century, they'd figured it all out. Like legitimately. I only know this because I was listening to a documentary by someone who studies in the field, right? And so they were like, this is kind of crazy. Why don't we have, like even most American music literally cannot be studied that way because it doesn't fit the harmonics of 18th century Europeans. So this would be like what we call Eurocentric view. If I can look at this one thing and apply it to the whole world, but that's not true. You can't take the harmonics of 18th century musicians and apply it to Indian like raga music. You can't take that and apply it to blues. You can't take that and apply it to pop. You can't take it and apply it to electronics. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you could if you wanted to, but that's very strange way to like talk about music theory is through the relational lens of just 18th century musicians, right? Specifically in Europe. So when we look at stuff like that, and we understand that the Eurocentric viewpoint is to reduce everything and then take that reduction and look at everything through the reduction. This is a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism because you, as you all have experienced, when you awaken to what's going on around you and you gain more awareness, your nervous system gets overstimulated and you get super overwhelmed, right? So it feels great to reduce everything down to something simple and then use that simple thing to just go through all of life because it gets rid of all of the stress. But this is what we call like binary thinking, stuff like that. It's very reductive. It makes you very narrow-sighted, and it doesn't help you in the long run. It may help you in the short run make quick decisions without stress, but those quick decisions made without stress did not account for any of the details that are coming towards you. You know what I mean? So overall, the Eurocentric viewpoint, it's reductive to the point of decay, meaning that it reduces everything and then it breaks, and then it has to start all over again, and then it reduces everything and it breaks. And that's until it expands to include others. That's all that means. When you are going from centric to expansive, it just means you're adding. That's it. So you're adding other viewpoints, other ways of looking at the situation, not just one. And that can feel overwhelming because it's a whole new experience of integrating new energies, new ideas. For instance, if you're having an argument with someone and you truly believe that you are being invalidated, it can be very difficult to stop in that moment and listen to the other person, because sometimes listening to someone else feels like invalidating yourself. But that's not true. You're just listening to all of the perspectives. And a third party, the way that you know that this is true is because if you're a third party looking at two people arguing and you can see both sides, you can see why they're both wrong and why they're both right, because you can see where they have a misunderstanding, right? That's the same viewpoint. That's, I can take a step back and look at all of this because I'm looking at more, that I'm seeing this through not only two different ways, but three, because I have no stake in the game. So the more emotionally overwhelmed you are, the more emotionally tied you probably are to outcomes. And so the less, or the more stakes you have, the more reactive you become. The less that you are tied to outcomes, the less emotional stakes that you have, or the ability to regulate your emotions, which is more necessary than just not having stake, right? Because if you go throughout your life not emotionally investing in anything, then you don't put your energy into anything. But when you can do that, put your energy into things in a healthy way, right? By making decisions and yada, yada, yada. You kind of bypass, or the Eurocentric, you become somebody who has more than one way of thinking about a situation. So you have more than one way of handling it and many different opportunities or possibilities in which you can advance through. And so, yeah. Sometimes, so the patriarchy, right, reduces everything down. And, you know, patriarchy was around a lot longer than Eurocentric, a lot longer than Europe, to be totally honest, right? Actually, I'm reading Cleopatra right now and looking at the Rome and stuff like that. And patriarchy predates them, you know, like I noticed that it's and that predates Abrahamic religions. So I'm like, man, I wonder where this patriarchy stream like kind of came from, because it's a weird way. That's why I'm like, it's a coping mechanism. You know, it's a weird way of rejecting life. Oh my god, my camera is autofocusing. My bad, y'all. But every time it does, I'm like, oh, who's watching me? Me, it's a weird. Patriarchy's weird. Then the camera starts moving. Is that you, patriarchy? I'm just kidding. Anyways, the fall of Samaria. You know, I wonder. I'd have to look into it because I don't go, in my mind, like the information that I have that's all the way back there isn't as organized as I'd like. So yeah, I got to look into it. Somebody, dead face, yeah. Is it you, patriarchy? But anyways, so you have to keep in mind that Robert and Moore and Douglas, they're really still kind of wrapped up in patriarchy here. So they genderize everything, right? They're trying to make it easy for them to understand, create a binary. Women, feminine, masculine, man. Men have these archetypes. This is what we're looking for. We're looking to see this in other men. And if we can, then we can build these initiations, these rituals, X, Y, and Z. Where the truth is that the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover are the masculine aspects of self, and the queen, right? The maiden, the mother, and the crone are the feminine aspects of self, or different archetypes, the feminine archetypes of self. So these archetypes, if you notice, king, queen, they mirror each other. We just call her queen because language, right? But they mirror each other, meaning one is receiving and the other one is doing. And that is a circular kind of like infinite loop, right? I receive and I push out and I do, and then I pull in and I receive and I put out and I do, and then I pull in the feedback and I push out. This is like a motion that creates masculine, feminine. So the king pushes out the blessings that the feminine takes in, what's going on in the world, what's happening in the collective, right? The feminine is the one that receives in the interior of self. So this is also an aspect that you, like, your feminine energy can only be experienced by you. People can experience you in your feminine energy, but you're still expressing, and expression is masculine. True feminine energy is the interior that's in there. Everything that goes on inside of you, that's feminine, if that makes sense. So the conversations you have with God, source, universe, the visions you have, the vision quest that you go on at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, what the fuck, right? That's feminine energy. That's all happening inside. Is it like the world building or making an inner world? It can be like world building. It is, but more so like centripetal and centrifugal force. Yes, if I could say those words, centripetal and centrifugal. Centrifugal. Jeez, centrifugal. I don't say that word often, but I've seen it enough. But yeah. It's those forces. So essentially negative, positive, right? The negative is feminine, the positive is masculine. But negative means it pulls in. Positive meaning it pushes out. That's it. These are just two dynamics, two poles, right? And then when those two poles exchange with each other, we get movement. And movement is life. Now things can happen. So you always want to be in that, back in that force. So for instance, whenever I'm doing, oh man, I was masterminding over the weekend. You guys have no idea. I was doing all sorts of crazy shit. I had all sorts of things. I think it was like Friday or some shit like that. I had a huge feminine energy download come in. I had questions about something, and then I saw zoom messages, and they came sometimes as questions. What about this? What about that, right? I had been reading a lot in global economics, so that naturally planted it's like fertilizer, okay? I want you all to think about studying and stuff as fertilizer. I've been reading a lot about global economics. You guys know I'm reading this book called T-shirt, the T-shirt Traveling in the Global Economy. It's crazy. It's look at the cotton as a economy and as a whole thing in America, and the rise and anyways, it's interesting, but it's all about global economics and stuff. And because I fertilized my brain with that, I ended up getting some interesting ideas, some very, very interesting ideas. And then boom, I started executing them. I just started doing them. And because I have a lot of experience, I'm able to execute an idea that comes to me really fast. Okay. I also use AI to help. It's great for crunching things. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I need to draft this up. Grammar check this thing. Okay, I need to do this. What is this missing? What blind spots does this have? You know, just using it as like an idea board and stuff like that. Anyways, and then I just do the stuff that I need to do. But then that's masculine energy. Lots of doing, lots of air and fire. So what do you have to do once it's all done? Once for me it's all done, I completely disconnect. Normally what I do is I'll go and I'll play video games, and I'll just sit there until my mind starts to settle. Because I'm distracted by fast moving things and I have to do stuff and people are shooting at me. you know, it makes it easy for me to kind of like move out of my job or what I was doing, that doing energy, into this more passive state. And then by the time I'm starting to get tired playing video games, as soon as I want to start thinking about something, I go deeper into the relaxed state that I was in, and go even deeper. Best way to do that, and I'll teach you, actually I'll mention it down here, is breath, right? I say that all the time. You guys know I teach classes, Midnight Scholar Society, unconsciousness. We talk about breathing and all that kind of stuff. So if you need in-depth, long stuff, just, you know, go to the Midnight Scholar Society. You can always shoot me an email, tell me about what's going on with you. I can tell you which classes to do. You can fill out a questionnaire. There's many different ways to get information. Just send me an email. But that being said, one of the big things that I tell you all is breathing. And I do this all the time, and it has got me through like what I consider traumatic situations. Like if I have to throw up and it's gross, you know, I feel sick. I feel like I can't breathe. I'm congested. You know what I mean? Like I am a baby when I'm sick. So this really works, because if it works for me in these moments, I know it's going to work for you. Okay. These are me and my weakest moments. So you breathe into your nose. And you breathe in, but you want your diaphragm to go out. So you all know diaphragm breathing, right? You just want your diaphragm to be pushed out while you breathe. Oh no, I dropped my my tarot card from my Peter Pan book. Where was I? Oh, I think I was right there. Yes, I was. Nice. Okay. Yeah, you want your diaphragm to go out. So you breathe in through your nose, push out your diaphragm, which means your stomach's going to go out. Kind of like you got a little balloon in your stomach and it just pushes out, right? And then you breathe out long through your nose. And you always want to breathe out through your nose down longer than you breathe in. Breathe it out. And think you're going down, like from the top of your head down into the ground, all the way down. You can do like even Merkaba things, where you think about your energy going down to the core of the earth, and then like the core of the earth is sending you energy back up into like a string or something attached to you. You can do all sorts of things with breath. But ultimately, what you want to do with that breath is it resets your system. And when you start breathing and you pull that breath deep into your body, you're pulling spirit back into your body. And you're saying, we're going inward. You're pulling yourself in, whereas before you were out. Your masculine energy was out there doing everything, and now it's in. Now you're pulling it in. So when you do breathing like that, you're oscillating between feminine and masculine energy. So you're always going between both. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like you're a human being, so you're both are functioning at the same time all the time. It's just, where is your consciousness, and where do you want to place that energy? And that's where consciousness comes into play, right? You just want to be in alignment. Well, what is alignment for you? Follow your joy. So the king. How do these archetypes fall into that, right? The king, I want you all to think about it, represents earth energy. So the king is the archetype, the king. When you want that king energy surfacing in you, this is the one that shows up to help you do things. So think about the king. The king is the one that doles out blessings. The queen's the one that listens to all of the information in your body. And then the king's the one that does the actual doing. So an act of devotion, when you know, like when you have to do something that you're too tired or something like that. I do this all the time, where I will breathe in and I'll pull my masculine. Okay. And it really is a king energy. You guys know, planetary intelligence, I think I talk about them all the time, and Pluto, Neptune, Jupiter sometimes, Saturn, you know, like there are all of these, a lot of the king is literally like Titans. These are gods. You get what I'm saying? The energy that you're pulling on, that's earthly, that can come through your body to do things. Have you ever written before and you knew that you were channeling because you stopped thinking and your arm just started moving? Or, you know, when people go into possession, you're always possessed. Some people are just possessed out of their minds, right? So they don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. So therefore they're just impulse, and they're possessed by impulse. And then you have possession like dance. That's possession. If you were playing music at a high level, if you're doing any artistic pursuit at a high level, possession. You have created a vessel that can contain the energy that outputs something at a high level. King energy. So your accomplishments, anything that you've accomplished, king energy, being able to brush, and that includes being able to walk, being able to run, being able to brush your teeth, being able to wipe your own ass, being able to fix your own food, I'm just saying, like, basic skills is where it all starts, right? Being able to do your own laundry, being able to communicate, to get help doing any of those things if you cannot feasibly do those things on your own, right? Being able to make your own doctor's appointment. Oh my god, I gotta go to the dentist. That was me reminding myself, make my own dentist appointment. Oh, my kids are so lucky. My husband makes their appointments. I want him to make my appointment. Oh. Anyways, where's my king? I lost it already. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I gotta make my own dentist appointment. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? When you listen to that pumped playlist for getting ready for the gym, yeah, well, that's warrior, more like. But yeah, actually putting on the playlist, right? Letting your warrior come forward is a king energy. The king really is the one that says, we're good. We're good. Whatever you need, we'll get it done. Don't worry, because why? I know all of the guys or all of the ladies that can help us. The king says I can talk to the queen, I can talk to the warrior, I can talk to the magician, I can talk to the lover, the mother, the maiden, the crone. I can talk to all of them because guess what? My round table, we're all in sync. We love each other in this hizzow, right? This is why when you combine masculine and feminine energy, it is so important to understand that it is not related to gender, because there's a lot of, the section, the lover here really pinpoints the connectedness, and that connectedness can be very sensual. So what happens when your king and your warrior are doing it like this inside of you, right? That feels passionate. If you only recognize, and this is why I told you guys, over the past few classes and stuff like that, I said being relaxed, totally relaxed in your body and also full of passion is the ability to sit in like an orgasmic state without sexualizing it. If you can hold off sexualizing it, then you'll know what it is when your king and your warrior unite and you feel passion, right? Probably when's the last time you got competitive and played a sport or something like that, or you were sitting down like doing anything competitively? There you go. You didn't sexualize it. But that same energy was there, that fire, yeah, it's all the same. The magician, what happens when the king and the magician link up, right? And you start making fucking magic. This is when you're masterminding, right? Everything's, not only do you know things, but you're applying, you're doing what you know. Boom, boom, boom. You're knocking things down and out. And oh my God, what song's playing right now? Hold on. Already arrived. Let me see. My light is the compass. My truth is the trail. I love it. Goddess vibes. Tribe. This song just started playing all of a sudden. Yeah, it's like, see, mighty, mighty vibes. Anyways, so when the king and the magician come together, this is when you are, again, the light is my compass and my truth is the trail. I already know the path that I walk. I know what I'm doing. I know because I do it. I know because I've done it. I know because I'm doing. Regardless of what that looks like, what that feels like, I am. And I'm here and I'm doing it. So at least I know. Versus somebody crying somewhere in the corner. He's not doing nothing, right? What happens when the king and the lover link up? Oh, Jesus. This is where things get a little tricky sometimes, right? This looks like a lot of self-love. No, it is the poet. The lover's the poet energy, right? But like, this is the king. The point that I'm getting at here is that the king represents the earthly plane. This is you in the world, penetrating with your own force. You are a force to be reckoned with. When you recognize that, then you can take ownership, responsibility, reclaim all of your energy in any particular situation or conversation or environment, because you are the king. I don't care whether you're at your job and you have a boss. You're the king. You are the king of your own realm. Your realm is physical just as much as it's non-material. The queen resides over the non-material and says what it should feel like, what it should be like, what the vision is, where you're headed. She is the soil, but the king is the one that plants, right? And he plucks and he gives and he does. He's the one that gardens. Now, that's earth, the warrior. This is air energy. I always want to say fire because warriors, you know. But this is the sword. So this is truth. This is duty. This is the level of devotion that comes from like knighthood, right? The warrior, the one that speaks truth, that discerns, the one that slices through bullshit. So in other words, your feminine energy is going to feel and go, something's not right. I don't know. I just don't trust this, or I don't know that I just don't like the way that they said that, blah, 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 blah. Your warrior will say, you know, you've been complaining about this bitch an awful lot lately. And you'll go, oh my goodness, you're right. And the warrior says, so what are you going to do about it? And then either you rise to the occasion and you make a decision, or you at least you know now that there's something wrong, right? So that you can look at it and come to a conclusion. But the warrior is the one that says it's time to cut it off and cuts it off. No more thoughts, no more energy in this direction. Clean cut, we're done. No back and forth. Because of your values, your principles. The warrior is the one where your energy goes from, I just feel so bad, to, I don't feel anything at all, actually. Because, you know, everybody has experienced liking someone, and then that person did something and you no longer have any feelings whatsoever towards that person for whatever reason. Doesn't mean that you had to like them deeply. You could have just been like, yeah, I think that person's pretty cool. They're fun, whatever. And then they did something and you're like, ew, you can't come to me or talk to me or be anywhere near me ever again. I don't like you. And I'm okay telling you that to your face. No, I don't like you. That was some weird shit you did. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever felt yourself go from those two poles, I generally like you, you're okay, cool, to fuck off, then you know exactly what it's like to go from the lover to the warrior. Get what I'm saying? When the warrior says something, and it's because something was most likely something defiled your value system or your principles, that's the warrior. The one who has his mental in order, the one who knows what he believes and how to act so he can act swiftly. That's swift with communication, and communication is the swipe of a blade, whether that's into flesh or through concepts and ideas. So which archetype is dancing Libra with the king this Libra full moon? Oh. Let me see, because it's coming soon. There's no such thing. They would all be dancing. That's the thing, is like the king, the warrior, the magician, the lover, and also the queen, the maiden, the mother, the crone, they all dance all at the same time. The better question is, how are they dancing? How do they all come together? This blend of 8 different archetypes. How do they come together? What do they come together on? The king and the queen have to unite to become one. The crown, the warrior, and I think the maiden. No, this would be the mother and the warrior and the mother, I think, are most compatible in this way. Yeah, they would have to come together, right, to form one thing, and that is truth, wisdom, devotion to a higher cause. A mother is devoted to the higher cause of motherhood. She cares for community, right? So that's mental economics. And then you've got the magician, and I would think the crone. They come together to form the wand, right? The cauldron. That's my new witch laugh. Right? I do that every time when I'm playing Marvel Rivals, and I'm like, oh no, this is a new voice stem where I'm just like, ha 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 ha, ha, I kill you, ha. Yeah, anyways. So the magician and the crone come together, right? And that's Howl and Sophie. That's Howl's Moving Castle. Howl and Sophie. And then you've got the lover and the maiden. They come together to form the bond, right? This is the heart. The heart and the messages of the heart. Boom. Right? So you've got the crown, the sword, The heart, technically, also, you know, the sword can also be footprints, the way that you walk your path with clarity and stuff like that. So, you know, sword. And then you've got the wand, you know, this is your will to make things happen. And yeah, your heart, what you want to make happen. And the crown, the ability, the mind, the head to do it, right? So all these come together and then they dance under the moon. What song is playing? I love this. Electric Love. It's really struck by your electric love. Yeah, I love that song. Ah, that's so funny. It came on at the same time. Electric Love, because it's really, it's like really like a dance. And it is, it's electric. It is, it's electric. This is the chemistry, right? I know, perfect timing. I love it, I love it, I love it. So yeah, so the king, so then we've got we talked about the warrior. We've got the magician as well, right? The magician. Oh, I love that one because I sit in the magician energy all the time. You guys know I teach, so I'm a scholar. It's my favorite. And so the magician, I thought that this was a lovely section. Let me see. What did I want to highlight? Louder, louder, and louder. Lightning in a bottle. Oh, we actually talk about Jung and his maps of the unconscious, right? The Gnostics call the pleroma, which is like this other world. In Chinese mythology, there are different realms of heaven and stuff like that. And in every mythology, there's different realms, right? And in these realms, this is the imagination. This is where your mind goes. These realms are very real, as in they are non-material planes of existence, and everyone has, just like you exist in a physical space, no one else can exist in your physical space. Oh, the fact that he just casually mentioned the Gnostics. I know, right? I thought the magician section was excellent. It was the most non-gendered section, one, even though it was still heavily. But two, it's like he dropped so much knowledge in that section, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. I'm so glad we kept going with the book. I was almost turned away when I realized how, like, I was like, oh no, these men are still stuck in it. They're still stuck in patriarchy. No! But like it turns out they had lightning in a bottle after all. All I need is your struck. The court magician, in effect, was the king's psychotherapist. Yes. So, see, the magician does a lot of work. The magician really is the scientist in the bunch, right? The one that keeps all the operations moving smoothly and really well. Then you've got Baba Yaga and her cauldron over there in the dark, and that's who he's actually getting information from. When he wants to know what is this, what is that, where does he go? He goes out into the forest, right? And he becomes the hermit. To talk to who? Baba Yaga. She's not going to talk to him if he shows up in his courtly robes. She's going to tell him, oh my god. You know, all he knows how to do is pretend at magic. Because he can't talk to the stars like she can. At least that's, you know, how I imagine the conversation goes on between them. But really, in all actuality, the magician and the crone kind of share the same spot. They're like Hal and Sophie. They live in the same house. You just only ever see one, right? Sometimes you see both. I mean, I suggest everybody read Howl's Moving Castle to really get that kind of link and relationship. It's much different than the Ghibli film, not so much so. I think Miyazaki did a great job of re-envisioning it for animation. You know what I mean? Like, he captured the essence and what it feels like. However, the book, we cannot replace the book, and by any means. Jones really does show you exactly how it feels, these archetypes, how they feel to be a crone operating within these spaces, what what boy psychology looks like, how Hal has to mature, things like that. Oh, I gotta turn the camera back on. So we have, hiya, your love your content first live. What are we doing? Well, we're at book club right now. You know, the king, the warrior, magician, the lover. You know, I really do recommend you guys watch, or not watch, but read Howl's Moving Castle, just because there's so much there when it comes to understanding the energy of what it means to be in the magician's tower. And hers moves, so I mean, that's why I say it. Hayao Miyazaki did such a great job, because his looks like the cross between Baba Yaga's chicken hut and a tower, an academic tower, the magician's tower. There's a lot of different archetypes. Naomi Novik does one. What's it called? Ooh, I'll never forgive myself. Naomi, no. Naomi Novik. I won't be able to move past it until I think of it. What is it called? Uprooted. There we go. It wasn't my favorite. But you know, I like it nonetheless. Did I read Deadly Education? I think I did. I think it was okay. Yeah. You know, I was trying to get into Naomi Novik. I read her other one, Spindle. I thought that was a good one. Spindle something. She does a lot of really cool mythological and fairy tale retellings, and she also has a dragon series. I gotta try that maybe. Oh, here we go. Spinning Silver. That was an interesting one. I really did enjoy that. I think I might have a book review of that up on YouTube. And I think I probably also have a review of Uprooted up on YouTube as well. But Uprooted, I really enjoyed that. It was okay. I like the book, but the main aspect that I want to talk about is it shows you it's another telling of a story of what happens when the woman, the crone, who doesn't know that she's a witch, like she doesn't know that she's a crone yet. She's like an initiate of somehow. What happens when the initiate goes to the wizard to learn? And this is for true. Like this is why I say forget gender, regardless of whether she's a crone. A boy also has a crone and a magician inside of him, right? So this is an initiate who doesn't know yet what magic they possess, and then they go and they meet the magician in the tower, right? Now, meeting the magician versus meeting the crone are two different stories. When you meet the magician, you are going into higher learning of the external world. When you meet the crone, you're going in deep into the forest and you're learning discernment. Baba Yaga will teach you how to discern and how to see. The magician will teach you probably by like abusing you in some way, shape, or form, so that you can turn into form. You can get some principles, some morals, some all this, that, and the other. They're just there to challenge you, you know, like the tower is a penetrative force that says you have to come all the way up to the top. And once you get to the top, then you can have opinions. And then you get to the top, you have opinions. And when you get to the top, you're like, huh. You realize you don't need an opinion anymore because now you just know. And that's what the magician's kind of like journey is supposed to teach you, right? Is the magician like Saturn? The magician is more like Loki, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. Only because Loki shows you some of the more adept, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Loki teaches you some of the more clever aspects of the magician. Saturn, definitely there's Saturnian energy because we're talking about like a tower and like a very like structured force, right? And I mean like Uranus could also be there too, the madman. Anytime you get into those spaces, but no, it's mostly Loki. If anything, maybe Sagittarius would rule over the magician space too, but so does Gemini. It's really, the magician is an amalgamation of all of these energies into a very specific role. But if I were to pick a mythological figure who fits it best, it would be Loki. He is the magician. Okay, I even see him all decked out in green. You know what I mean? He sits at the tree of life. And specifically, if you've seen the Marvel series Loki, the second season is the best understanding of the magician that you will ever possibly get. Like the whole series is the magician. This is the magician who has to reincarnate into himself, who has to get rid of some timelines and come back into others. And he's literally in the I was gonna say the ephemeral world. No, but he's literally in the non-material realm, right? Having to reconstruct timelines and not kill everybody. You know what I mean? He's making a lot of tough decisions, and then he has to figure out a riddle that's also wrapped up in it all. And you know, it leads him to a lot of revelations and ultimately the tree of life. And so yeah, that's probably one of the best series that I would say wraps up and shows you the magician energy. And takes its time to do that. And because it's also about Loki. You know what I mean? So it's like a double whammy. Okay, and then we have the lovers, and then we're gonna break into the discussion, I think. Any other questions? But then we have like stealth. He does have stealth, yeah. So his cleverness. So Mercury or Loki or Hermes. There's a lot of these. The magician has many different names, many different faces. Same way. I keep saying Howl's Moving Castle. Same way that Howl is Howl Pendergast, and he's like Howl Pendragon, and Howl, like he's got like 15 fucking different names and aliases. Right, and a door that goes to all these different worlds essentially, so he's able to be multiple people at once, because the world around him can only perceive certain aspects without losing their fucking mind. I relate hardcore to that, but anyways, so like stealth is one of those things, right? Because like you have to have stealth to be able to move between worlds like that. Is Hal a hear me out or nah? What do you mean by that? Oh, you mean do you mean like as far as likability? Oh man. Well, we did, but I mean, you can always join because I'm just covering some highlights. One, so I said we finished it, but we're just covering some highlights. There'll be a discussion you can listen, and I'm sure it'll help even more with your reading experience. But we'll be going back to this book over and over and over throughout the year because we're going to be comparing some other novels: Peter Pan, The Wizard of Oz, Earthsea from Ursula Le Guin, to this, and using the archetypes and stuff to apply to those books and stuff like that, to really unpack what these archetypes, how they show up, and how they show up in our own lives and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, you have to have stealth to be able to move between worlds. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to do that, yeah, Loki's a great figure. And then last we have the Lover. And the Lover as an archetype. So, the Magician is fire. I think that's kind of obvious that he's the fire element, right? So fire is enlightenment. I go into the tower to go up, to be enlightened, to get closer to the stars, to get closer to the sky, to get closer to the sun, to get closer to God, to be enlightened. This is source, right? Oh my God. Not, is this Fallout Boy? I'm on fire. Light 'em up, 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 light 'em up, up, up. Isn't that crazy? I'm on fire. I love how the timing happens there. I love it every time. So yeah, Magician, that's all fire. And it really is like that. You see, like the song Fallout Boy, I know what you did in the dark. I think, like that's the magician energy. I know what you did in the dark. Like it can go in many different directions. And this book is The King, Warrior, Magician by Robert Moore Douglas Gillette. King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. I'm sorry. I'll hold this up here for a second. Actually, I should probably have this on the screen. Pardon me, y'all. Like for 2 seconds, because apparently it's here, but I don't know where. And then I have this song playing in my head. At this point, it might be faster to get out of here. KW. There we go. Okay, I think I got it now. Oh no, that's me. Hi, sorry, wrong one. Oh, wrong one. Okay, maybe I have to. I'll just do this. It's fine. There we go. Okay. So now I have the book up so everybody can see, and let me make it a little bit bigger. Jesus fucking Christ. 800. Oh, Jesus, no, that's too big. It's too big. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, there you go. You guys can see it. That's perfect. It looks crazy. There you go. You know, I got this song from Avatar playing in my ear, which, you know, not a bad. Oh, that looks great. I'm seeing it. Okay. Love this song. The franchise is getting a little weird. No, I didn't mean to do that. Why did I do that? Okay, there we go. Okay. I can't, like, I hate some of this stuff. Okay, there we go. Everything's perfect. Okay. Those of you on Patreon probably can't see this. I don't know why Patreon won't allow the overlays, but at least those of you on TikTok can, and on YouTube. And I probably will just take the YouTube link and upload that. Okay, so as the replay, so that way you guys can see all this stuff. I finished the book a while ago and forgot so much of this. Thanks for the refresh. Of course. And then the lover. I think I mentioned it, right? The lover. Oh, the lover. Oh, the lover is water. Okay. Once we get water into the body. So the lover. Archetype of the lover. So these masculine archetypes, they're all king, the earth, air, fire, and water that is in your material world. So the lover, when you have urges, that is the masculine lover. Okay. What causes the urge, the energy that causes, is a feminine experience. So when you look at the energy, or when you okay, let me put it this way. When you meet somebody and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know, I got a little overwhelmed. You know, it was great. I had a great exchange and I really enjoyed talking to them, and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. The interior is your experience with that, for sure, right? But the exterior is, how did you feel in your body? What sensations came up? Like, how did you, what smells did you like experience? What was the aesthetic, essentially? And I think Moore and Galette talk about that really well here, that the lover is about the aesthetic. It's about experiencing. This is a poetic, a very romantic way of experiencing life. So when people say that they're romanticizing their life, that's the lover archetype. That's the masculine lover archetype. This is the closest to transition into feminine surrender that you get. So generally speaking, the dynamic, oh my god, I just thought of this and it's so fucking smart. I gotta write it down so I can show you guys. This is sick. Okay, I'm gonna show you by using this. I hate it when I have to use, okay. We're not gonna make it a thing. We're just going to draw two triangles. Fuck, this is such a shitty triangle. Whatever. Okay, I want you all to think about the descent and the ascent. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. There you go. Okay, so lover. It's right here. Maiden. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to write this down really quick. Okay, so I just want you to think in terms of this, right? So technically a Merkaba looks more like this. So a Merkaba looks more like this, right? Two triangles overlapping on each other. And this is generally kind of how, like, a little bit of how your energetic field is. It's more like, sometimes it's like a torus, you know, it's like two things coming together, but they form a triangle like thing. So you have like a torus in your energy. Hold on. Okay. Come on. Just right here. It's not going to do it. Anyways, you have a torus field and it's like two circles kind of go like this, right? Shh. But those contained inside, think geometrically, like two triangles, one at the top and one going down to the bottom. So like this, okay? And it's a Merkaba, really. It's more shaped like this, overlapping, okay, like a six-sided star, than it is like this. This is like The Sims. But I'm doing this to kind of make a really good display so that you can understand. Here's the king all the way at the top of this part of the Merkaba. This is, think, material world. So, material. To me. Material, non-material. Material. I'm the greatest. Okay, there we go. So we have the material world is the non-material world. So this is the descent and this is the ascent, right? The material world, your king is here wearing his crown all the way up here. But as you go down and transition into feminine energy, so you're going to be really relaxed and go deep within yourself and have conversations with your own soul. This is a good place to journal, right? This is an invert. You moved from here, experiencing the world, talking to people and exchanging lots of like conversation or whatever the fuck, right? You went from up here as the king interacting, and then you went home and you sorted your thoughts. So the next one is like, we'll just say warrior, magician. Which comes first? The mother would be here. To be long ago, never to walk in anyone's shadow. You know, I'm I've been singing all crazy like that because the Shadow King. I decided long ago not to walk in anyone's shadow. Remember that every time you hear about a shadow archetype, this is because you're not doing this. Okay, you're not doing this. You're not transitioning from the king who goes out to talk to people, right, and hang out and stuff. And then you get a bit of warrior energy where maybe that talking goes from everyone being really like genial and, you know, amiable to a smaller group of people, one that kind of fits your your principles and your values and stuff. And then the magician, this is you kind of going a little bit more inward in your own mind, right? You start studying and understanding stuff. And then when you get tired of studying shit, then you want to go into your body and just feel, right? You want to take a bath, you want to light candles, you want to eat yummy chocolate. That's me. And you just want to feel. And then you're descending into the maiden who really not only wants to feel, but also you know, in the sensational sense, right? Like I want to feel silk on my body. I want to taste chocolate. I want to feel that way. Then we go into the maiden. I want to know what these feelings mean. I really enjoyed talking to so and so. Oh my God, I had so much fun. Well, instead of thinking about so and so, why am I having fun? Like, I really sat in my joy today. I really enjoyed myself today. I really loved experiencing life in such a way. This is where gratitude starts to come in, because you notice how we're just talking about ourselves and what we liked and what I like. I left talking about liking others to the lover's territory. This is where I still acknowledge the material world. But once you ascend into the interior, you got to stop thinking about other people and other things and start thinking about yourself and start thinking. This is brings the attention into the body so that you're understanding not only the sensations that you just had, but like what's going on inside of you. And then you've got the mother. This is where you start taking care of yourself. This is emotional regulation, nervous system. Did everything go all right? Or were you just really swept up in the love affair of it all? Right? Or, you know, or did someone's breath kind of smell and, you know, you're like, I don't know. I don't really know about them. I feel like they were really just pushing me along, and I enjoyed that because I didn't have to make any decisions for myself. But now that I think about it, somebody who's that pushy is kind of annoying. And I think it only worked out in that moment because I was being really receptive and I really liked being pushed around in that moment because I didn't want to make any decisions in that moment. But do I want to hang out with this person all the fucking time? No, I don't like that. I don't like pushy people like that. But I really enjoyed it in that moment. I'm glad that pushy person was there in that moment to push me to do things. But that's it. And I think that's good. I think that was a nice one and done. You know what I mean? I think I really enjoyed that, but I don't really need to like experience that person any more than I did. That's how you can have a pleasant experience, because you go in and you understand how things are impacting you. You do your emotional regulation. You really look at yourself. We're really focusing on ourselves here, not the other person. There's no guilt, blame, shame, or anything that even needs to come up because we don't really care about the other person like that. You know what I'm saying? We care about the experience and how are we nourishing ourselves? How did this experience help us grow or change? And when you just keep up on that and you're like, oh, that was a healthy experience. I liked it. Okay, check, move on. And then you get the crone, and the crone says discernment. So I talked a little bit about nurturing ourselves and a little bit about like weighing the pros and the cons of people, right? Like the crone is far more detached than any warrior could ever be. Like, I need you all to understand that the warrior is detached emotionally because the warrior oftentimes is borrowing crone energy of discernment. Okay. Now, this is who holds your principles and your values. This is who acts on them. This is who holds them. So as we descend with the energy that we were experiencing, right? It has to go through all these checkpoints. And then we finally get down to the queen. This is when you are the most relaxed, the most open. If you really know anything about tantric stuff, right? And sensual stuff and all that, you can open up fucking portals in this state. Okay? Real simple. You just gotta really be in your body and really enjoy it. Okay, and just let the enjoyment be. The queen is always in luxury. She's lavished. She's an empress. Okay? Nobody makes her do anything. She doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't have to fucking think. Okay? When you're in that energy, and sometimes people get like, oh, well, like, okay, but now you're in a spot of no thinking. Remember, the Empress is in this space. The only people who are around you when you were in this particular space and place are people who recognize, acknowledge, and handle your Empress with care. So sometimes this is a space that you're only in when you're by yourself. Because no one else knows how to handle you with care. No one else knows how to let you be dumb and completely oblivious. Oh my God, what song is playing? Walking on Fire. Walking on the fire. Yeah, it's like, that's what it is. It's walking through the fire. Okay? When you walk through eternal fire, I'm telling you, you have to be totally fucking relaxed. You have to be totally... This is the queen of the underworld, people. She's absolutely detached from the suffering of others because she is the suffering of others. She is death. So anybody who is like hostile towards you in that space, it's not a pleasant thing and it's not positive because you don't piss people off when they're like connected to the state of death, right? But in order to rebirth yourself into all of that kind of stuff, you got to go into the state of death. But the state of death really is just like, I'm just comfortable. I'm doing whatever the fuck makes me feel yummy and happy, and I'm just doing that and just enjoying. And don't ask me things. I don't know. I gotta make a dentist appointment. Fuck that. That's the king. Don't fucking come to me with bullshit like that. See? I get crazy immediately. I'm in my deep, like, loving energy and a to-do list comes towards me. Holy fucking shit, this feels aggressive. This feels abusive. This feels like I need to get out of here. That's how the queen energy, where's my thing? That's when you descend all the way into this space. You do nothing. That's why I'm always telling you guys, rest. 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 Get used to resting and going deep. I'm walking on fire. I'm walking on fire. I mean, the only way to walk through fire, dripped, is as a queen. The queen of the underworld. This is Persephone. No. Isis went to the underworld, didn't she? I don't know. But the whole point is like, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. So these two things, they come together. They form like a Merkaba. So the six-sided star, right? They're constantly in conversation and communication with each other. Because when you think about it, all of these are three-dimensional points. You know what I'm saying? So, oh man, this is fucking ugly. Okay, let me see. I'm trying so hard to make this actually work. Ooh, oh, hold on. Whoa. I'm walking on. Oh, this kind of. Okay, I've got kind of a Merkaba going on here. Okay, let me color it so that it looks decent. And then we're going to go on to the discussion part, y'all, because I've been talking for quite some time. Jesus. I'm walking on fire. Okay, so our little Merkaba, I colored it. Oh, why does it look green? But anyways, I colored it right here, okay? It's kind of like this. This is your energy. Like you are a crystalline star, okay? That's like consciousness formulates into this crystalline star figure. And all of the energy is shooting between the nodes and the points and going into each other. You get what I'm saying? They're going all at once. So Sometimes you are going to be at your king energy and your energy drops. Oh, and you start feeling terrible and bad, and it's because you're still operating up here. Or do you ever get into your head a lot when it happens and you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Or you get into your body, oh my God, something must be wrong with me. Something's bad, blah, blah, blah. You start talking about, it's because you have to bring your consciousness down here. You got to bring this. Think of your consciousness as a little Merkaba. That's so ugly. But think about your consciousness as kind of like a little Merkaba, right? You got to bring it up and down. You got to bring your consciousness up and down into these different archetypes. And when you do that, you get to know the different archetypes. They start having names. They start having symbols assigned to them. Sometimes your king might be an earth sign, like it's earth in nature for sure. But what is your king in nature? Mine is very much a Taurus. I would just assume that's probably the star sign. You know what I mean? Star of the show, the fucking king. You know what I mean? Mine's really earthy. It's like 2 times Earth. Me, did the soldier boy watch me? Why am I doing this one? Like star of the show. And then we've got the warrior, right? So we know that this is an air. This is also air sign. Do you have any heavy air placements? You know what I do? I have a Gemini Mars. And I swear to fucking God, anytime this guy gets active, boom. Now, does that mean everybody's is like an air sign energy? No, not necessarily. I just know that mine come through that way only because when I'm oh man, Archangel Michael comes through here. Archangel Michael, it's scary when he does. Not for me. I love it. Ha 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 ha. Make all the enemies fall. But anyways, when Archangel Michael comes through here all the time, man, when he comes into town, he always sends me a message through this one church that's not too far away, and I go and I visit one of the little statues, and something weird always happens afterwards. I'm like, there he is, the magician, right? I know my magician really well. Talk about, he's also Gemini Mars. For me, it's because my I have an Aries rising and it's at a Sagittarian degree and ruled by Mars. You see what I'm saying? So my Mars energy comes up a lot. Lover, oh man, even though it's water, I was gonna say Gemini Mars. No, but the truth is that Mars comes through a lot because Mars is how you act out in the world. So check your Mars placement, okay? Because how you move in the world, the masculine energy is inherently Mars. And then guess what's inherently down here? Venus. You're going to notice a lot about your Venus and how your Venus talks in these different archetypes here. Now, that being said, you're also going to experience other channels. Okay, so the way that these things communicate, right? Like, let's say the mother is... Fuck. I'll do this. Let's say there's a node here communicating here with another node. Oh, that might go through like a Mercury channel. Do you get what I'm saying? So we don't, this isn't necessarily all of the planets, just Mars and Venus rules over these things. No, it's that you'll notice these archetypes come through really heavy through those channels, but when they're talking, they're going to come through with other planets as well. So be mindful. Oh, Venus in Taurus right now. It is, isn't it? She's back home. My Venus is in Taurus. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, I think that's about it. That settles it, doesn't it? It's a great book. I gotta finish up the lover section, honestly. But maybe I'll try drawing up this Merkaba thing. And let me get better at animation. Or using like some AI animator or something like that. And I might be able to make a little diagram that moves and stuff like that to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Because the energy, it's real. And your breath. Oh, that's what I meant to tell you. So the warrior. The way that you activate the warrior in you is through breath. Actually, the way you activate just about any aspect in you is through breath, okay? But the warrior specifically is activated by breath. But so is the magician. Like, you can, you know. I wrote this down somewhere in here. It was... Oh, here we go. Breath. Yeah. See, in like almost every section, this was in the lover. Writers may be sensuous. Oh. Writing may be a sensuous experience for him, When we have asked writers why so many of them feel that they have to smoke when they sit down to their typewriters, they have told us that smoking relaxes them by opening up their senses to impressions, feelings, and the nuances of words. They feel deeply connected by doing this with what they call the earth or the world. Inside and outside come together in one continuous whole, and they are able to create. So this is a huge thing about breath. Well, yes, they're also inhaling smoke and earth and air. So we've got fire, earth, air going to activate the senses, water, right? So people are smoking usually tobacco to do that. But this is heavily a breath practice. So when you're moving, so think about, I remember I said earlier you could do Merkaba stuff. So think about that little star as your consciousness in your body, and you can, I think of it as yellow, it's golden, and you can move it throughout your body into your different chakras, things like that. But when you do, okay, just ask yourself, just move, and know that when you go up, you're going into more you're going into higher states of being when you go up, one, but you're heading into the king territory. Okay, when you let it drop all the way down, especially into your sacral chakra, you're going into the queen territory. Okay, and when you pull energy from the queen up, and you pull energy from the king down, and you bind it into your Merkaba, and then you move that throughout one of your chakras to like clear something, or just to sit in the energy, or just to move it to the magician. See what if you're studying, let the magician study. If you're in conversation with someone, let the lover connect. If you are deciding something, let the warrior sit down and think, right? If you are going over your day, let the maiden go over your day. If you're trying to take care of yourself, your environment, nurture something in you, not externally, you're trying to nurture something in you, build something in yourself, let the mother sit with it, right? And then if you're trying to connect with the cosmos and go through the door of death and everything and have a rebirth and know, you know, like connect to the cosmos or something, I don't fucking know. Let the crone sit with it, you know what I mean? The crone acts more so for being a facilitator, okay? Whereas the magician is going for knowledge, the crone is facilitating. She is becoming the vessel for the cosmos. And they leave behind gifts and rewards and stuff whenever they use you, so you know what I mean. Okay, so yeah, let's open it up for the discussion. I'm gonna head over to the Discord. I'm just gonna open me up right in there. There we go. I'm there. Let me see. Is this open? Let me close this one. Bah, bah. Okay, so I'll let everybody else pile into the Discord, and oh man, I gotta turn on my music. And while you guys are talking, I actually have to turn up my sound to hear you guys, and then I will mute myself when I'm not talking, because you know I have to have my music. Okay, would you be able to share that animation creation site? I can't draw, but I have a specific scene I'd like to get out of my head. Pretty please. Ooh, for sure. I mean, I don't know anything right now. I was just talking. I was like, if I can find some like AI thing to animate. So if I find it and I upload, I will let you know. Oh my goodness. Somebody said the Federal Reserve in Jekyll Island. Hey, same here. Oh my God. All of the comments are coming in from TikTok on the on the screen. So many I didn't see. Okay. Ooh, what about 1893? Okay. Material on material. We're obsessed with ourselves. I think I'm Kron for real. Crone. Crone. You're all of them. You're all of them. I don't want to be. I don't like appointments. For real. That's my age. Join. Oh, so yeah, on the Discord. So yes, you can always join. You can go head over to Midnight Scholar Society, join the Patreon. The discussions is technically for members, so you do have to be a member. You also get classes, discussions, and when I repost or when I'm going to record the discussion and put that up. The replay of the discussion is for members, but my lecture parts, most of my lectures are all free on the Discord or on the Patreon. So, but yes, you do have to be a member to be part of the discussion. So let me see. I'm waiting for everybody else to pop on in. Oh my goodness. It can all just be me, and I'm seeing all of you over here on Patreon. And you all, I'm seeing all of you here on Patreon. What are you guys gonna hide out? You don't want to talk about it. For anybody who does, just head on over. I'll give you a few minutes. Anybody want to? If you guys need to top up some tea, I'm gonna drink a little bit of my juice. Oh my god, I love this song. Fall in love again and again. Fall in love again and again. Fall in love again and again and again. I'm just walking in from work commute. Ooh, yay! Glad to have you, Joss. Again. Singing some hold music. Yeah, I'll do my best. Fall in love. No, I'm so serious. I do have to cut my throat anytime I try to sing. Otherwise, it's all like cracky and stuff. Unless I sing in voices. I see Nicolandria when I hear that song. Wait, I don't know who Nicolandria is, but I see oh man. I love there's this one girl who sings that version of it. I love her version. I don't even know her name. That's fucked up. Wait. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, Staying Alive is playing now. Let's see. Staying Alive. Oh, I love this song. It reminds me, unfortunately, this is the AI version. I got suckered, y'all. Don't come at me. It's a gospel version, and I thought it was cute. But staying alive, staying alive. I like whether you're a mother or whether you're a brother, you're staying alive, staying alive. I love it. Reminds me of the working class black family of the 1990s, maybe the 80s, really. Actually, no, 70s, really. But you know, we gotta stay alive. If I'm a dancing man and I just can't lose, why do I never know the lyrics to any fucking song ever? This is a tragedy. You guys should know that for as much as I listen to music on repeat, I don't know the lyrics to anything to save my life. There I am. Staying alive. Okay, how many people we got over here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this it? Is this it? Is this? It's just gonna be the 4 of us. It's okay. It's okay though. I'm curious as to why, normally there's so many wanting to do discussion. And today, is it, maybe not everybody got a chance to finish it and stuff. Isn't that the energy, the shape of angels and time machines in some books? What do you mean? Isn't that energy the shape of angels and time machines? Literally so many things. The 1990s was wild. Good time to be a rock. Or a Rothschild, a Rockefeller, or a Roth. Ah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I know. Oh my goodness. That fucking Gilded Age period. Yeah. I think, the HBO series really does a great job of kind of like it does a great job the same way that Anne of Green Gables keeps a great job of never showing you what the men are up to. Like what life is really going on out there outside of those little communities. You know what I mean? Okay. So y'all, I think it's just us 4 for the discussion, which is fine. That's fine. I know this book was a bit more like dense, and also I remember last time from our last discussion, a lot of people were like, oh, this was a little difficult because of the, there's a lot of patriarchy and stuff like that, and it made it kind of confusing or a slog to get through. But I do want to say, for those of you who are still somewhere in the middle of it, that second half is worth it. Do glance over. I will say this: when it comes to the names, like when he's bringing up like examples, I don't really pay attention to his examples, because like most of his examples of men are men who struggle to be upstanding characters of masculine energy. Now, the archetypes that they do portray, when you isolate them, right? Like Winston Churchill, when you isolate him and just think about how clever he was to position himself certain ways and to make it you know what I mean? Like, sure, there's some warrior aspect going on here, I guess, of decisiveness. I don't fucking know. The point that I'm making is that I really cast aside most of his examples because I think that finding the examples of masculine and feminine energy, and that's why we're bringing in the other books, it's important to see that in both men and women because we have to divorce the gender aspect of it so that way people can see healthy dynamics. Like the Woman King, yeah, I can't wait until we kind of I figure out what we're going to do with that film, but it's such a great example of initiation, the structure of their society and all of that. Yeah. The shape you drew. Oh, yeah, the shape that I drew. Yeah, the Merkaba, right? I think it is. I know it's just, I think it is the shape of angels and time machines. Yeah, I think so. I think so. You know, I don't know too much about it like as a symbol. I have to study a lot more. I have some books on sacred geometry and stuff like that, and I got to look through those things and study those things. I'm slow because it looked boring. Okay, anyways, discussion. So, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. And, oh, I'm already muted on the Discord, which is great. I'm going to turn on the desktop sound, and see if anybody can hear. Ooh, okay. I'm going to turn down my music so that I'm not distracted by French passion. This camera focusing on me is crazy. I hope you guys haven't been hearing that. Okay, so I have this so I can turn this down. Okay, so who wants to go first? Just tell us whether you enjoyed it and how you enjoyed it. I'd like if you could just say a few words really quick so I can see if it's all doing well. Oh, hold on before anybody does anything. No. I'm just realizing something. Can I record that? Oh, you know what? I can. We're good. I can just do this. We're gonna see how it works. Oh, here we go. That works. No, it doesn't, because it's not gonna record that. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'll just do this. This should work. Okay, this might be the first recording where the whole thing is going to be for everybody because I have to figure out yeah, I have to use the Discord in my browser, but I can't do that right now. So that's a little fucked. Anyways, so I'm not going to record the discussion part. I'll just put this whole thing up on Patreon until I can figure that out. Okay, so anybody want to go first? Go ahead and jump in. And if you can say like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 testing for me so I can just make sure the sound works. Oh no, Josh, are you talking? Because I can't hear anything. Give me 2 seconds. Is anybody else here? Microphone. Oh no, that's not what we do. Okay, that was weird.
I picked the right thing.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that was on my fault. That's all my fault. Okay, is anybody else here? Oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead. I think I got you guys now. We're all good.
So I think a couple of weeks ago, can y'all hear me? I'm on headphones with an internet outage, just using my phone Wi-Fi. Y'all can hear me, right?
Can everybody hear? Can anybody? Oh yes, you can hear. Okay, good. Everybody on Patreon
Cool.
able to hear?
Test it.
I think you're good. You
Thanks.
can go.
Echo. All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I don't remember who it was. I just remember that their little emoji thing on Patreon was orange, but a couple of weeks ago, they said they were really excited, like, to read the rest of this book. They were raving about the book. It was so good. I'm very curious, um, if like, who are you? Are you here today? Can I hear your thoughts? Darn it. Okay. Well, um, I have been really like really struggling with this book. Like I feel like the last time we did this, like my very thinly veiled contempt was thinly veiled, and like I really think unless Francina had mentioned um her perspective on the feminine and the masculine being a constant dynamic, which I fully agree on, and us having that kind of side discussion about um what was it, like being qualified and being initiated, and how, the universe is sort of what was it, like when we start on this journey, it was kind of a joke, but like when we start on this journey that is called hell, that's also a fairy tale, that's also the universe working out in your favor, you have to see it like all of that, otherwise it doesn't work out. If it hadn't been for that part, I really think I would have just been doing a constant rhetorical criticism of how like red pill adjacent this whole book is, especially given Douglas Gillette's more recent work in some very problematic communities. Um it was definitely like the beginning was really strong. It was like classic. It felt like so con man to me, where like the beginning is really strong and he's making a lot of sense. And there's even graphs and I feel so seen. And they're definitely like breaking down patriarchy and like being like this is BS. And then the middle is, him listening to the sound of his own voice is what it felt like, with a bunch of like very, I don't want to like straight up call them isms, but there was some questionable stuff in there. And then the end and the conclusion, it got good again. And so you were like, oh, okay, I can forget about the whole middle, but the middle still happened. Um, and it was really, I found it really difficult to get anything out of it that came from the book itself versus like using the book to find other things that inspired me about the nature of masculinity and mature masculine and um masculine initiation. I don't know. What did everyone else think about like that middle section?
Anybody else want to jump in?
Please.
Not all at once. Not all at once. I will say, to get us started, oh god, it needed so much heavy reframing. I think I haven't been shy about saying that at all, though. Like, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's been really helpful.
yeah, the middle, like, because it's so genderized, like, I'm telling you, every time he mentions a man in the book, I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, let me go look up this guy. And then it turns out that guy's crazy. And it's like, oh, this is the best. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, was the 90s way worse than I remember it? Because, like, this man's thinking is. Anyways, it's very alarming, right? But I mean, I'm looking at it from like it's ancient, like. I feel like Robert Moore's still alive. You said he has some new work. I gotta look and see. Oh man. Robert Moore.
Oh, I'm
Books.
so sorry. Yeah, Robert Moore is a I didn't remember when we first started the book. I literally looked this up last night. I was like, why is this guy familiar to me? And I looked it up and I went, "Oh no." Yeah, where's my book? My thing, it's not Robert Moore. It's the Douglas Gillette guy. Robert Moore was pretty like quiet, but Douglas Gillette does a lot of like, it's like a Christian version of the manosphere. That he does, and like gets people to go on like very like a motivational speaker that is but it's sold under the guise of like being deeply academic, even though nobody in the room can ever like make a point or say anything definitive because it's totally not something they're selling. No, not something they're selling. And yeah, so he does a lot of like podcasts and speaking tours and stuff on an international level. There's a lot of I don't want to call it like outright fetishization of like Eastern religions and stuff, but it's problematic to say the least. And he works in a lot of like deeply conservative, but like the conservative communities that also pride themselves on like liberal elite ideology, which is its own problem. And that's what Douglas Gillette is doing these days. I think the last thing I was looking up last night was in 2025. So like I don't know. I feel like this book, yeah, I don't that I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, I'm looking up his latest one, Soul Making, The Realization of the Mystical Life. And I saw that he was a retired pastor, so that kind of makes sense. Um, yeah, like, and then I'm on Amazon, so it shows me, what other customers have bought and or read. And a lot of it is and does fall into the space of what I would say is like people who are breaking out of specifically Christianity, but like they're moving into the new age spirituality, where they've broken out of one paradigm, but they're taking it. They're like, what happens is when people break out of their matrix, they remake a new one that's exactly like the old one, but with new pictures on the walls. So, like, I'm always that's why anytime I talk about like text and spiritual text, I like to pick the stuff that's old, because when it's old, we can look at it and we can see it clearly, like what its flaws are because of history. But like stuff like that's like, current and recent like this, it's always going to just be even like more, either it's going to break open and expand more in a healthy way, or it's just like kind of goes into more singular thinking. um yeah, I don't, I'm not surprised, to be totally honest. I'm not surprised at all. And in the West, especially, there's a lot of using Mayan and Greek and ancient Egyptian and all sorts of different types of mythological systems and stuff, because the West, like Tolkien was trying to recreate a mythological system for like the British West, right? The Irish have a mythological system, even though the British tried to destroy it. The Scottish still have one, even though they tried to destroy it, right? There's Wales over there, which I think the Welsh have a different mythological system. I think, like, like, in other words, there are people that are surrounding like the colonial Britain area that have indigenous and indigeneity and like mythological systems, but because of the prejudice, like Tolkien had a prejudice towards Irish people, but wanted their mythological system, but because of that prejudice, they cannot truly integrate the system. Like, they can't truly understand the other because of their own prejudice. It keeps them at arm's length, so it becomes like it starts to look like they're wearing the skin of other cultures rather than being in flow with all, or being like global. And so, yeah, it's always hard to know how, especially I always say, with anybody who is Western, um, and deeply raised in a Western space and with no other culture from birth to kind of compare, it's always a toss up of whether they're like in a healthy direction or not. And a lot of their stuff makes sense if you think circularly, but it's the circular logic. That's why when you said, like, the guy talks and it'll be like no one else can kind of break in, um with any other points and stuff like that, because of the way that it's, I guess you said that it's structured. It's like that, it's circular. um I'm trying to see, there's this new one. Okay, let me get out of here. I'm like looking deep. This one cover is kind of ugly. I was starting to judge it as a book. But yeah, and like, you know, my main issue with them is that it's the need to reconstruct something, but from a place of not knowing what they're reconstructing or what is, and not realizing if you don't know what you're reconstructing, then that means that you have to literally, you are a student, you don't know anything. So you have to go learn something else completely. But they go at it learning something else like an expert. And it's like, but you're not an expert in masculinity. The culture doesn't have a healthy masculine, so you cannot be an expert. You are just a boy. And that's a very, like, that's the schism that always happens, right? Is the moment they have to go and be a boy somewhere. Anytime we have to be a student somewhere, and it's something that is desperately gives us insecurity, and this is a cultural insecurity at this point. This is like a deep generational insecurity that goes all the way back to, you know, the first time the matriarchal like society and the area was attacked. When was that? Like, you get what I'm saying? We're going back into like before Christ stuff. Like, it's fact. So like when you go back that far where there's that scar, you know what I mean? Like the conditioning of the insecurity of not knowing what spirit, what it is, even though it's right there for you, is like, it's easily triggered. And so it gets easily triggered that people go as an expert into these spaces, like, oh, I know what this is. Or if I don't know what it is, then just they toss it aside as like not important, rather than being like, well, what is this? But that's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. I like to use the example. For those of you who've ever watched anime, Jujutsu Kaisen is an anime. Jujutsu Kaisen. I wonder if I can show you stuff on YouTube. Can I show you? Anyways, maybe I'll pull it up at some point in time. Oh, I think I don't think I did. I had an idea to put it on a video once, but there's a character who does something called Infinite Void. And it's this thing that stops time almost, or it moves so fast that all of the people in the area are forced to compute, to like take in information in like in 0.02 seconds. They have to take in like a year's worth of information. And so it like kind of almost makes them brain dead by the time the 0.02 seconds are over, like 0.2 of a second, and they're already like entering the vegetable state because they're unable to process that much information. That's generally what it looks like when people get triggered. They get hit with a lot of information and they go into the vegetable state, they become unconscious, right? And then they start making choices from that place of unconsciousness. And you can imagine how detrimental that is if you're like studying something or trying to understand spirituality or trying to understand yourself, if you're doing it unconsciously, when the whole point is to work towards consciousness. Like, and then you work to keep yourself unconscious, which means you believe that being unconscious is conscious, and you believe that knowing God is something that no one can ever truly know. It is something that we're constant in the quest of, because this is how you keep yourself unconscious from just like being. It's crazy. That's why I'm always like, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot. The best way to go about deconstructing is just being like, you know what? Circular logic isn't helpful. I'm just gonna always ask the question, because you can see how crazy it gets. Anybody else? Somebody else? Jump in. I see. I enjoyed reading the book overall, despite having to ignore some of his examples and the jump scares about sexual abuse. I know. I think one of the interesting sections for me was the king and how extreme distancing from your own king energy can lead you to project that kind of king energy onto others. I thought about how much of being a woman is like abdicating your own king to another person. Ooh, do you want to talk about it? Because like I agree. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Oh wait, I think they're already gone, huh? Yeah, probably had to leave and jet out because we're already at time 7. Anyways, anybody else want to talk? I'll say to that. I think that the comment there was pretty right on it, because man, when I tell you, when you project your own king, you project your own energy. You guys heard me do it earlier, right? When I said I have to make a dentist appointment, and I was like, oh, my kids are so lucky because, you know, their dad, he makes the dentist appointments and the doctor's appointments and stuff. Like, he's really good at that. And I was like, oh, I want him to make my appointments. Projection, right? Like I immediately want him to wear the crown and be the king and do all that kind of stuff. Right? And but like what am I abdicating at that point, right? I'm saying that I need someone else to make my appointments for me, which like maybe that's the case and maybe that's needed, but the question is why and what am I abdicating, right? And if I say, well, I'm just letting the stress out and I hate this and I don't want to have to do this, then fine. I have to also handle the consequences that comes with that, which is probably has a lot to do with what are some of the consequences, right? Being overwhelmed at the thought of it, right? Where I'm at, right? I'm overwhelmed at the thought of it. Oh, that's because I actually have to do it. But anyways, yeah, or not knowing how to do it, or like what happens when you're in a new country or a new place and you need to set up and that person's not there, right? What do you do? So those are the consequences of abdicating. And how often do people abdicate so much of their king energy to someone else, especially as a woman being conditioned to do that? You're conditioned to say he's the one that does all the stuff, and you just receive and sit there and look pretty, and then also do everything. The sit there look pretty is because you have to do all of the mental computations. You have to do all the emotional work and the mental organization of everything non-material. But nobody mentions that part. They just say sit there and look pretty. And then when you do all of that work and the other person doesn't acknowledge that that work exists, they just think that, like life is and just life happens and everything is set. It's like waking up and there's breakfast and you go to a school and there are teachers and everything is just there and you just go and do these things. That becomes the masculine world, right? I just wake up and go do stuff, and she she sets it all up for me when I'm not looking. That's the issue with genderizing, one, and two, it's the issue with projecting, because we end up in a world where someone else sets everything up and you just wake up and you do things, or you don't ever do anything. You set things up for other people to do and you confuse them, and that is an act. You are doing stuff, but you're doing in service to others. So your energy is being put into someone else's dream, someone else's world, and not your own. And that can be that you could wake up one day and be really disheartened to find that you've built an entire world that for someone else you thought it was perfect, this, that, and the other, and boom, it's not. They've changed their mind. They didn't know that you put your entire life into building their reality, but that's not their fault. It's not their fault that they've changed their mind all of a sudden either. But they can't be held down because you built an entire reality off of them. They didn't ask you to. And that's usually a conversation that happens in spaces where that happens, right? Like I think we know that the dating sphere and the marriage sphere, where the divorce rates are rampant and all that kind of stuff, is because of that. The people don't understand the roles that they're playing, or the roles that they were conditioned to play, and the roles that they agreed to play versus the roles that someone else wants them to play. There's so much confusion, and people call it gender confusion when they think that they're talking about queer people, but truly gender confusion is when you are confused because of gender, because you've been conditioned to be a gender and not a human being. So you're confused. You've been conditioned to be an energy and not a human being. And so boom, gender confusion. Gender has confused us all. I think that that's what gender confusion means. Everybody's always like, oh, gender confusion when someone doesn't know. No, nope, 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 nope. Nope. Gender confusion is when gender has entered the chat and confused everybody. Anybody else want to talk? Anybody else? Ooh, it's the drag pack.
No, I love that you brought in like gender and dating dynamics and stuff at the end of it, because I thought it was really interesting. He goes like he starts this, and I don't think I have the same scope of experience of thinking about a lot of these things and studying these things um the way you do, the way a lot of people maybe have. But just to see him like quite blatantly contradict himself, where he opens this by saying he's going to talk about the masculine and the feminine in general, and then he specifically addresses men, and men are always masculine, and breaking that down. And it feels like he himself is confused about gender, and then it all wraps up with this like final jab at women at like the very, it's like literally the very last page. It's like what, page 150 whatever, like the very last page, where he's like, but women are also, yeah, here it is, but women are also no more inherently responsible or mature than men are. And just as like, yeah, so women do some stuff too, and it's like, are you mad? Like that's how the tone comes. Because for me, um, when he spoke about initiation, and we got to have the discussion last time about initiation and how important that was, and how you had to have other people around to initiate you, even if it was just as a trigger so you could initiate yourself. That was really powerful for me to have that idea of mine, validated by other people, via this book. And um, for him to kind of like forget that and leave that on the wayside, be- and not really go into that as much, was kind of actually, because I almost like, even if the way he would have broken it down would have been the most like red pill toxic silliness, I I still would have been very curious to see what someone who's coming from this angle thinks about that. I'm curious as to what like people in general from more Western schools of thought and Western cultures think about initiation. Because it's often like the kinds of initiation that I've put myself through, that I've accidentally fallen into, that I've gotten gifted with, like all of these different things. Um, I feel like it's difficult to speak about them in terms of initiation. Um, and the closest, like, I think like the most known form of initiation that a lot of people talk about is like hazing rituals within like fraternity clubs, or the initiation of things that like our hormones in our bodies just like naturally do, and stuff that's not really, I don't know. Like I don't, I feel like there's a lack of deep thought around it for me to get to sort of like reflect and engage in new perspectives and just play with ideas. And I wish he would have done that more, especially in a very like gendered way, coming from a very like masculine man perspective. um and I'm curious to like what other people got out of that, got out of his the few quips he makes, quips or few mentions of rites of passage and this initiation. And like again at the very end, he gives you like some like exercises that feel performative, but like I don't know, they're there.
Anybody want to jump in? I jotted those down because I'm going to circle back to that because I think those are really good points. Anybody else want to jump in? Anybody have any thoughts about that? It's okay if you have other thoughts, by the way. And
Mhm. Yeah, all the other thoughts, because this book did really make my mind like go in a million different directions. Like, I mean, on top of like the obvious like rhetorical criticism that I could just go on and on and on about. Like it is interesting.
okay, well, I'll talk on these two thoughts, and then if anybody wants to say anything else, feel free. I thought two things that you mentioned that I want to go back to. So, no thoughts on the feminine, and I think you're really hitting a nail on the head there because he mentioned in the beginning that like masculine aspects can be found in both women and men and stuff like that. But he only focuses on men the entire time, and except for like at the end where he kind of refocuses on women, and he's like, "Yeah, you guys are responsible too." It's kind of like women are an afterthought. Like just fit in where you get in, and every now and again I'll look over and remember that you have a pair of honkers on you, and I should say that yes, also women. It's kind of like it's giving that, which is very 90s, to be totally fucking honest. When it comes to like that's fucked up. But no, but yeah, it's Yeah. And then we have the swing. So that leads into the initiation thing, right? Like he talked about how there is no ritual initiation, and then he didn't talk about any or what there is of, and like how to integrate that. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that in the West, like it's just hard to find information on that that isn't like one clinical, like that's not like super super, especially like in the 90s when he's writing this. A lot of the stuff that you were going to find would be like in sociology, and it would all be very clinical, and a lot of the research is probably based on white guys, white boys specifically, when we talk about like what puberty and what initiation, like you get what I mean. Like a lot of his research would have been fucked up to begin with, because it would have only been like, it would have been narrow if they're really, I shouldn't say if they're at all, because there is a lot of research that is out there. It's just a lot of it is Eurocentric. It doesn't take into like, and that's the issue, right? Is how do you understand initiation and ritual in a society that doesn't have initiation for boys in this particular way? And then if you look at what is happening, there is no information on it because there isn't it, right? And then the stuff that is there is all skewed and not actually men. It's just white boys of certain class demographics, and then like, you know, the marginal difference, other people out there that get thrown into the, you know, exceptions to the rule. And then I think that's part of the issue. And then there's the, maybe that's what, you know, Douglas Gillette was trying to do in the other books, is go out and find that information in other cultures and stuff like that. But it's all going to be big, heavy-handed, and with thumbs, all thumbs, right? But I thought that that was a really good point, because one thing that I looked at consistently, like when I talked about the Woman King, that's why, because I noticed that too. I was like, oh, there's no like journey of the initiation that he kind of like brings us through or talks to us through, like how do you initiate from king, warrior, magician, lover, like bringing us through story wise, with a particular character. Maybe that's asking too much from a thought piece. You know what I mean? But like, I think this really would have benefited from some type of character study, so that we can see these things and see where they belong and whether or not, and how these things are playing out. All of his character studies were broken men, you know? So yeah, it's like, it's sad. For me, I look at it like, I look at it and I get sad. Because, well, like sad for him, like, oh geez, you know, like all your character studies are essentially broken men. And then yeah, here, although I will say this, I don't think that he's actually taken a jab at women when he says, but women are no more inherently responsible or mature than men are. The high-tiered tyrant, for instance, appears in all her or his splendor in both sexes. Men should never feel apologetic about their gender as gender. They should be concerned with the maturation and the stewardship of that gender and of the larger world. The enemy for both sexes is not the other sex, but infantile grandiosity and the splitting of the self that results from it. So I think his issue comes from the fact that he is inherently dismissive of women, because he probably feels like he doesn't really know anything about them. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like in his mind, women initiation and women rituals, like there's space for that. You have, you know, all of Jung's stuff is about the deep subconscious and what's going on there with women and the deep feminine, and there's so many Jungian analysis that you know, so many works on that. That's probably what's going on in his mind, I would think, at the time. And so he's doing something like that hasn't really been done in the West, and that's talking about it for men. And so he's kind of full of men in that way, which makes him just kind of dismissive in general towards women. But not in a, I don't think he's being cruel, although I think you did flag, if you were to know him in person, like he's not trying to be cruel, but that doesn't mean that his impact is not cruelty. And he probably has impact that is cruel in the way of women, just simply because of his dismissal, right? Like the only time he mentions is to essentially like bring it down, like, hey, they're no better. But like, you know, it's important like that men, then he goes, men, when he's like, women are no better. But you know what is important? Men doing this thing. Like, you know, like, again, it's like he's trying to speak to both, but only ever talks to men. And so I think you really, I think you hit the nail on the head there. If I were writing a companion to this, it would probably be something that talks about the bridge between the four archetypes, right? Like we have to stop talking about them separately. But you know, as far as a manual on what are the archetypes and what do they do, yeah, it's helpful. But I think we all would benefit from an update of some sort that kind of bridges all of this information. You know, sometimes I wonder about writing it myself, and then I go, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of work." You know what I mean? Like, ugh, I made classes. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about that stuff all the time. I don't know if I want to write a book. Oh. But it would be helpful. I think. I think you're totally right on all of that, on all your points. Um, yeah, and I want to be clear too, for everybody who's listening to this, just because we can see someone and like I look at the authors and like their work, right? Just because I can see in their work that the reasons why it has problems, the reasons why it's problematic, that neutralizes the read for me, but that does not neutralize its place or its impact. Like we don't have to be negatively impacted, right? Like that's one of the things is I refuse to be emotionally triggered whenever I read by somebody who's like, you know, a mess, because it drains my energy. But just because we can approach it neutrally doesn't mean that it is neutral in itself. So I always like to make that statement really clear, because I think close reading and recognizing issues like that, that's part of how that's first of all, that's how you not only know that you understand, but that you are, like, it's a measure of your own intellect, right? When you can look at somebody else's work and say, ah, you're inconsistent here and you have yet to do X, Y, and Z and this, and this. So positive impact for us in that way. But yeah, I wouldn't be too keen, or I should say, I wouldn't be surprised if I heard, you know, from like women in their lives that, you know, they're a fucking mess. But we got some decent bones out of it. And anything with women who run with wolves, we know what we can do with bones. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? You guys talk. You guys talk.
For me, like towards the end of the conclusion, um, there were there were aspects that I sort of was struggling with where and part of it is trying to the authors are saying like, hey, really trying to give this space of connectedness, but then also really just calling out how like if this is the age of individualism we are in, and I part of me is like someone who was assigned male at birth, right, in this human suit. Um, I really felt like it didn't even speak to. Uh, I I even felt it difficult in the message in speaking to men as someone who was assigned like male as a gender at birth, like AMAB, and I even struggled a lot with like the context around, um, you know, sort of those spaces of like, well, men do these things and then we're just left to our own to solve the problems of the world. And those were areas that I really kind of struggled with at times, with like some of the direction and the philosophy in this book.
I really appreciate you saying that because like as a woman who is like very much like raised like I'm a deeply feminine person, like whatever else is going on. But I have definitely had enough, masculine AMAB men friends, to notice that the way he set up, the problems that men seem to be facing, and like this would be a normal, like the exercises at the end of like, this is some of the problems that men face. Like it seemed to me, right, to be like performative. It didn't feel fully real. It felt like he was taking a part of the truth and then making a story that was palatable. That was my impression of it. And so
There,
I'm did it feel like that to you at all? Like am I being too suspicious because because I kind of started out that way?
yeah, for me at times there was parts of the book where it, for I guess like a TLDR about it, like, uh, are you going to talk about it or are you going to be about it? And I felt like there was a
Right.
disconnect of like a lived experience, of actually connecting in that way. And then it was like the references, like, and I get like using cultural reference as metaphor to connect with your audience, right? So using things like Indiana Jones or certain cultural aspects to make reference to a certain situation. Um, I can understand that, but then at times, like, I don't always feel that the metaphor, I don't know if wrong is, but it didn't always like land in a way, or it felt incomplete, or it like maybe superficial in some aspects. Um, and then as someone who like I lost my dad when I was 7, so I grew up in an environment where I was raised by women, but then I had a mom, boomer generation, so like inheriting like the cultural lens that they existed in, right?
Mm.
But then my mom like overcorrected for the patriarchy. So then I always had this interest on like, like men, communities of men, or how are men trying to lift each other up. So this book I was kind of excited to really dig into, and like the boy and the man psychology, I think are the largest things I took from this book was kind of understanding that. And I was like, oh man,
Mm.
this makes sense to me. But then in the latter half of the book, with the man psychology around the archetypes, there was some nuggets of gold in there. But then a lot of times, it's sort it's just like, well, like I'm gonna mansplain it to you, other men on what like masculinity, like, I don't want to say should look like, but it should contain these elements, and I can appreciate that. But then it also just felt incomplete in a way to make a connection on, well, how do I get there? Or like, in a way that felt translatable to sort of expand, or create expansion, or sort of express um those things. So I don't know if it was, you know sort of, with Francina's thing of like, I'm reading this book like it's a relic of the past, and like maybe I just need to have more of that approach in this book, in some aspects. But for me, in other ways, it was sort of a difficult way, even as someone who has man parts, to connect to some of the philosophy of this book of like masculinity in certain ways.
No, I really appreciate and love that you said that, because like I'm always questioning, with my own masculinity, like how much I might be missing because I'm a feminine person who's like so socialized, to like very, very much socialized to be a woman, in all of the ways. And um to have him talk about masculinity in a way that made me feel less in touch with my own masculinity, and like I had never met a man before in my life actually, and then at some points to feel like very much in touch and be like, oh, I see that king energy reflected in myself like daily. I love it. um and then be like, oh gosh, yeah, 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 I've met so many like amazing men like that. And it was just like so much whiplash back and forth, in a way that was, it, it was difficult to stay detached, because I know he's an academic and I know he writes all the time, so why can't he say these ideas and get these ideas out in something that resembles a definitive sentence?
Ooh, I want to
It
cut in
was,
there.
it was, yeah,
I want to cut in there because I think that like this is the sort of thing that I love, but I'm going to reframe it for you guys. So,
yeah.
one thing that I learned reading, oh my goodness, every time I pick up like something like this these days, like a book like this would be technically like a dissertation or a thesis, by a PhD. And you can get them in book form. I get them all the time. Okay. A lot of people in academia who truly are at the edge of what they're doing are heavily under applied and oftentimes so lost in theory that they are but a student again. They're walking around the book, right? With the let me see who has the PhD here. I think it is anyone Robert Moore is the psychoanalyst. I don't know if I don't think he's a PhD, but he, is a psychoanalyst. He, is a professor and stuff like that. So he's walking around, right, with credentials, essentially, and the respect in his field. And this is the book. It's filled with all sorts of issues, isn't it? Like the fact that I have to reframe it for you guys all the time. Like I told you, it's great as far as having 4 archetypes organized for us to kind of like, grab, look at. I thought the boy psychology, man psychology part was great because it breaks down, the issues. Like seeing the issues with patriarchy is easy, but seeing the solutions, oh man, it exposed them, didn't they? I just want you all to understand as you move forward and as you read books from other scholars and stuff like that, like this is normal. Your experience with this is really fucking normal. That's why I'm the way that I am when I talk about literacy and in academic spaces where I'm like, yeah, okay. Like a lot of people say they're smart, but like at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. The proof's in the pudding here is that they don't really know anything about masculinity, except for that these are the archetypes. They can give us some bones, right? And they can give us their ideas, but like their ideas are so all over the place and so that the whole book itself isn't constructed properly. It is literally just almost, I would say, we could take out a lot. I would take out all the shadow stuff and just, I mean, fuck, I would, obviously I would the whole thing needs to be rewritten, but the way that it's organized right now, right, is like it leaves, we've got 3 different directions almost. We've got a sociology direction of patriarchy, boy psychology, and what is that doing to people in contemporary times, right? We've got the psychoanalyst, the archetypes. So that's a totally different. We're exploring the unconscious and the threads that weave this world together unconsciously, and how we people act in it, whether we're aware or not. And then we've got another one, which is initiation practices. So this is spirituality and how is it present in our society, which is that's kind of a question on religion. Kind of, but it's a spiritual question and it's more of a philosophical question about what's going on. So there's 3 different angles that this is trying to cover, but it's got this many pages, which means it's not going to be able to cover 3 different angles. In fact, all it was able to do was give you a brief overview of what may be going on sociology wise, right? Which I think a lot of it's fairly accurate as far as archetypes. We've got boy psychology archetypes and their light version, or right, the healthy version versus like the shadow version. So fully expressed and or underexpressed or repressed somehow, or expressing in a warped way, right? We've got that, which is kind of a conversation about like the sociological aspect of things, but it doesn't really go in that direction. It's not oftentimes you will come across the realization that people currently today are sometimes in the darkest of ages than we were 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Like the mindfuck of this book is truly how is it that this came to be such a prominent title in this space? Because that's why I picked it. It's a prominent title in this space, and I was curious just as much as you guys are. And this is as prominent and forward moving in that space as far as being presented to the public. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to say that Robert Gillette or Moore and Gillette are the only people talking about masculine archetypes. They've mentioned Joseph Campbell in here quite a few times and some others, right? But like as far as a nice like encyclopedia, we had Women Who Run with Wolves, and then we have this one, and I think it's very clear that the work in Women Who Run with Wolves is one that's lived, right? Because it resonated a lot. It's one that's lived, and this one isn't one that's lived, it's one that's thought about, so it's all theory. And I think that's why we've got one person who's like, I feel like it's not real. Like, he's trying to push this idea without it being grounded in anything. Yeah, because it's all theory. However, he's working with theories that are grounded. He's just unable to ground them. And that happens a lot. So I want to reframe it, and just to let you know that, like, you're feeling confused only because you give academia a little bit more credit than it's supposed to, than you need to. You got to lower that bar. That's scary, isn't it? It's scary to lower the bar and be like, wow, like academia isn't actually where it says that it is. Like the world isn't as smart as it is. Like this is what's getting through, and this is what's being presented in many different ways. You get what I'm saying? Like in that space, like it's a book that exists in that space, and it exists positively in this space, which means it hasn't had a lot of negative critical review. So yeah. That's why I'm always in this space like, oh man, you can't trust anybody over here. They're all illiterate. They don't know what they're talking about. Man, there's this one book I have on my shelf. It's a new dissertation from like the 2016, I want to say, and it's about fantasy. It's a fantasy and stuff like that. And man, I was so disappointed with the book. There's so many errors everywhere. And I say, how does this get through? How is this a thesis? How is it a dissertation? Who read this and didn't ask any fucking questions? Anyways, you get the point that I'm making. I'm reading it. It's supposed to be helpful, and I'm super disappointed because, you know, this happens all the time. And I thought maybe it was just that I was crazy, but no, it's not. The glamour on academia has outlasted its actual structure. And so you just have to take your expectations down. We're at the edge, especially when we want to talk about archetypes and stuff like that. We're very much at the edge, meaning we're the furthest in the conversation. But there's so much, like Josh said, there's some gems in here, right? Like I thought the magician section was full of really good gems. As far as that was probably the most grounded section, with linking historically who magicians are, what their role is, and also contemporary wise. Where do you see these figures? And we can see that it is academia. This is the whole idea of taking ideas and putting them into reality. This was the most grounded section, but that's probably because Moore and Gillette are academics, aren't they? So they know that energy fairly well. They also know the well, at least in the Eurocentric view, right? They know it. They exist there. But all the other ones, man, the lover, I wanted to say a few times, I wanted to be like, uh-oh, this is giving I Am Legend. I just want to love it. I had no boundaries whatsoever. Oh my goodness. Puberty. Have they gone past that yet? And then the warrior. The warrior section, oh man, that one needs a lot of help. But the warrior there, we get the gist, the idea of the warrior, but there is a lot there. And then the king's not so bad, but you guys remember I told you at the beginning, and in part 1, that the king is full of all sorts of issues because he's combining the masculine and the feminine energy all together, but also at the same time, so that we don't get like dragged down by where they are, just know that how far you have come, that you can see all of that. And that's why I say when I look at them, I go, oh man, what a pity. You know what I mean? Like they were deep in there. Like just know that when you were reading this, you're going into the psyche of someone who is they're deep in a cloud, and you have more clarity of view than they do, and maybe more than Gillette, is able to gather. As you get older in life, it becomes harder and harder to expand your energy, because it takes more neuroplasticity, and you have way too much RAM at that point. You got so much memory and so much stuff that you're holding, that to expand and to account for all of that and more, at a certain time you get tired. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean you lose your interest in topics, but you lose your interest in going out and seeing more and new and expanding and growing and stuff. So I'm not surprised if Gillette's stuff is, worse or weirder, you know what I mean? And if Moore doesn't progress beyond that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did progress beyond it over the years too. But at the end of the day, what I want to say is just understand that it is a reflection, more so, less on, it's more of a reflection of them and the times and where they are, than anything. And when you take that reflection in, and you're like, before it horrifies you, just go, oh, you're far more educated. You're just more literate. You're more literate. And while it is terrifying to look at something and go, wow, this is where the world is, there is also power to be literate and to know that you have something to give that actually will help the world gain. because you can expand it. Yeah, other than that, it's rough. Okay, anyways, you guys talk. Anything else? Oh, we're at 7:37. Yeah, you guys have anything else? Anybody else want to say anything before we go?
I, I would like to just give an appreciation because there were times when I struggled to be able to talk about this book with like an experience of, you know, kind of AMAB or spaces. It was like like what makes me qualified to talk about what it's like to be to have this masculine experience and to give, you know, some sort of feedback on this book. So I want to give some gratitude for the space to really wander this with everybody. So just thank you for that.
Of course, of course, of course. And also, it's always good to bring your perspective too, and to like, I mean, well, I guess that's the gratitude, right? I'm grateful too because when I hear other perspectives, like I wrote down a lot of notes. Who is giving these notes? Okay, all I can see is I. I don't know what your name is. But I wrote down so many notes on let me see. What did I put down? Because it was here right at the end. About no thoughts on the feminine and the swing back on initiation. Yeah, I wrote down a few notes here as far as seeing what the book lacked as well and what's room there is for, because these are also, for me, I'm taking these questions back to ask who is talking about these things. You know, who did fill in this gap? Because while I can recognize that, like, I can see that there's a gap, that doesn't mean like I have to fill it. You know, I said like I thought about writing the book, and it's like, well, before I go out and try to write something, let me see if somebody else does. And so I'm also truly appreciative of y'all when you share your perspectives and stuff like that, because oh man, it just adds to the conversation. And also I'm not gonna lie, I like sitting here and being like, oh man, I'm a smart cookie, you know what I mean? Oh wow, when did you publish this? You know, how smart are you? Because I'm smarter than you, you know, like I'm grateful for the ability to see myself reflected and to see that reflect nicely. So yeah, I'm glad it too. I also have some gratitude too. Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah. No, I wanted to thank Josh Bear and especially you, Francine, because like I struggle so much with getting told like that not everyone can be as smart as me and I don't have to be so mean about everything when it comes to these things because I grew up with academics. Like to say I grew up with academics, like I don't think I knew a single person that like some of my friends in school were getting like paid for how good their grades were. Like everyone had at least a master's. Like I grew up with academics and the amount of times I'm just like, what are you saying? Quickly now in a single sentence, what, like just so like it's just what are you saying, and so to hear you just like validate that like we are people that are like deeply capable of having conversations as and our experience is qualification enough, you know, our ability to like ground ourselves and think critically and take a step back and just do our best to see things from all sides, and all of that is like is validation enough, or is experience enough, expertise enough, is really encouraging, because there's just like there's no need for this to be the end of the conversation just because this is the guy with the degree and the big following, you know, like it's nice that he started the conversation and it's nice that he doesn't have to be the whole thing. And I just like I really appreciate that.
And I love that you said that he does not have to be the end of the conversation. Also, it's a nice cover, by the way. I thought the cover was amazing. This is my favorite thing about the book, to be funny enough. I was like, I love the artistic blend of the cover. But yeah, this does not have to be the end. And in fact, I think that's why I was so gung ho and excited. Let me move this about these other books: Peter Pan, The Wizard of Oz, and Earthsea. I am very much aware that this is all very Western, although the Woman King is not. And I think that's, I'm glad that that's such great cinema. I thought it was really, really beautiful to watch as well. But I'm aware that all of these are very Western, but I think it's important. I think the pairing here is great. I think we're going to have some really good fucking conversations as we look at boy psychology, patriarchy, things that have been held up in esteem for a really long time as well. Because like we've got Frank Baum, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, Wicked has really is something that came out of that and has recently resurfaced, right? So that also we can talk about the impact of Frank Baum expressing The Wizard of Oz and also its adaptations and what that kind of brings to the conversation, especially when we talk about masculine archetypes, because Elphaba, funny enough, is a very masculine archetype. Glinda is a hyper feminized, right, archetype. And then we've got the wizard, who is a masculine archetype but hiding. So we've got so many different things to go on there when we look at stuff. And also like you know, like when we talk about the adaptations, but then when we talk about the actual work, how those two things compare, like how, like, you know, how far, I think his name's George McGuire, maybe, who wrote Wicked. I read the first book. That was it. But yeah, we can talk about all of those conversations, but specifically masculine energy and how it presents itself in the world. How, and the archetype of the king isn't always just a person, right? We know that like at any given time that archetype shows up, but it doesn't always show up in people. It just shows up in an agent, and we can start tracking that and looking. Peter Pan, this one's a fucking mess when it comes to masculine archetypes and what does it mean. We know that Wendy's the mother, right? And looking at like knowing that she is the mother, boom, that's her place, right? What does that mean? Tinkerbell also being like, Tinkerbell's a little Merkaba in herself. She's a little she's not a magician, she's more like a little crone, but she's one that's gone wild and crazy. Anyways, we can look at all of these things and see how masculine, that's immature, and how that impacts a feminine energy. How I would say the initiation, Wendy's in an initiation period, and Peter Pan is always trying to avoid initiation, right? So both of them being initiated into masculine and feminine archetypes, how do they both reject and or accept those things? And who is, who isn't, how does Hook play into that? What is history? You get the point that I'm making. How does that impact the current times of 1904, essentially when the play came out, but the early 1900s to about the 1915? How, like, you know, like how is this story, and how are the masculine, how is that traveling in the time period, and how does it manifest in the story in that time period? So like, is this an immature masculine manifesting in book form in 1911? You know what I mean? Like, is this the embodiment of boy psychology? Is that boom? And what does that mean? Right? And then we've got the Tales of Earthsea, which is a bit more chunky. Hold on. I think this one, I think it's only like 200 something pages for the first book. Oh, the first book's like 160 pages, maybe. Which, you know, the text on here, this book's not too small at all. So, that's really a short first book. Damn. Let me double check that. Make sure. I love me a short story. Yes, it is. It's 160 something pages, which is lovely for a book club. I like short books for book club. So yeah, reading that, because that's a whole different world. So we're looking at someone's like this is a realm, right? And it's like an alternative space, and we can really look and track these archetypes and what is Ursula Le Guin trying to say about them. And I think that this would be a lot more healthier, right? Because we're looking at it in real time, and we're working with real material, and we're working with people who were actually alive and asking these questions. Is it, you know, what gems in here were helpful for unlocking certain things or for tracking certain things, you know what I mean? And also how this is a product of its time. I mean, like, man, the conversations are endless. So we're going to be talking about a lot of them. I think book club, though, Peter Pan is next on the agenda. And what if we just do it? We'll just do it over 2 months. We'll just do the first half. So just, you know, whatever book you're reading, cut it in half. Let's see. I think there's so many chapters. There's 9, 10, 11, 12, 17 chapters. So we'll cut it in half. We'll say 18 chapters. Chapter to reach a chapter 9 for the end of the month. It's like 141 pages in this book, which is, you know, there's a lot of pages because we've got other shit going on. So, it's going to be less than that in general. But yeah, read to chapter 9. Obviously I'm gonna have this announcement and stuff like that, a whole post and everything go out about it, so don't worry about memorizing any of that. And I think that's it, y'all. I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna eat, and if you guys want to keep chatting at all about any of this stuff, I'm gonna come back live. I'm playing Marvel Rivals now. I'll be totally distracted, playing video games. But you know, if you have any questions, for totally, you know, bring it back. I'll probably be back like at the top of the hour, 8, 9 if I'm like busy and I get distracted. But yeah, I'll be here live, and chit chatting and playing some video games. But anybody want to say any last words or anything else before we get going? Oh my goodness. I look so shiny. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. Okay. Anybody have any other last words? No, that's it. That's it. Moisturize. You're right. I look so moisturized. Okay, that's it. That's it. All right, y'all. Thanks for coming to book club. I really enjoyed. I enjoyed talking about this. And finally, I'm gonna finish it up though. And like I said, I'll probably when I announce Peter Pan and stuff like that, I'll say something to finish this. We are gonna wrap it up, but I am glad. I'm glad that I was able to reframe it, and I am glad that it was short, so we could pick up a lot of these archetypes without having to read like a complete Joseph Campbell book. Even though that is on the list of things to do over here. But I am glad that we were able to get through it, because there are some very interesting conversations we're going to have about how these masculine aspects show up in ourselves, especially this year. Like the energy is primed for it, whether people are conscious or unconscious. Masculine energy that we are being asked to do a lot of action this year, to take steps, and all of that is, and it doesn't mean you go it means when you're being asked to step up to the plate, you step up to the plate. When you're not being asked, you rest, you know, to go back into feminine energy. And knowing who's being asked to the plate is really important. Is it the king, the warrior, the magician, or the lover? Like, is it like which aspect of our masculine are we currently in? Where's our consciousness, and where is it trying to move to? And always let joy lead the way, right? So if your joy moves towards a more relaxed state, you feel yourself dropping down in energy, then go relax. If you feel yourself going up in energy, then get out and go do something with that energy. Is that in your body? You want aesthetics, lover, or do you want to study, magician? Do you want to make clear decisions about stuff? Are you whacking on stuff? Are you going to go do whacking on stuff? I meant like with a sword or a stick, you know, like, are you doing something? Or king, you know what I mean? Like, are you embodied, making moves, moving throughout the world, right? Like, get out and go do. So anyways, that's it, everybody. I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you for coming to book club, and I'll see you on Thursday. Thursday, we've got live class and everything. So I'll see you guys then. And if you have any questions whatsoever, of course, always use the chat. You can DM me and or email me. Yeah. All right, everybody. I think that's it. Good night. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's the live. That will be up either by the end of this week. Because I'm probably gonna have to do the YouTube one, maybe. Yes. And then I think that's it. Yes, I will have this up. Yeah, I'm going to just do this one live, and the discussion will also be included into it. So don't worry too much, guys, about having to see two things. So this will be up later next week. Okay, let me close out that. And then, yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back in like an hour or something like that, playing video games. So if you want to stop in, I'll be on TikTok, by the way. So I'll see you guys over there.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.